Now we're out to Fenway Park. Nomar, he's set to go, hitting fifth for the Red Sox. And on the hill for the Boston Red Sox, Pedro Martinez, the Sunday nighter with John Miller, Joe Morgan, and Samantha Ryan.
Thank you, Carl. Tonight, Sunday Night Baseball, presented in high definition, comes from the birthplace of the American dream, Boston, and Fenway Park, with its fabled trademark, the Monster. Fenway has staged just about everything there is to see in a ball game, except what is about to unfold on this field tonight. It's a summit meeting of historic proportions. The National League power from Hollywood versus an American band from the Back Bay. Each an integral part of baseball's heritage, each providing unforgettable memories, both golden and dark. Now, there are more memories awaiting us tonight as the Dodgers and Red Sox square off in only their second regular season series. And the first time at Fenway. The writings on the wall. Interleague intrigue on an historic Sunday at Fenway Park. Just perfect. It actually feels a little bit cool at Fenway Park, but there's a wind blowing, a home run hitter's wind toward the big wall in left field. Sunday Night Baseball, the Los Angeles Dodgers of the National League West, the Red Sox of the American League East. Pedro Martinez on the mound, the great star pitcher of the Red Sox, the ace of the staff. He had a brilliant performance against the Padres last Tuesday, 8 shutout innings. And is he the missing link? Nomar is back in town as the Red Sox are glad to have their key man back. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller, along with Joe Morgan, and welcome to Sunday Night Baseball. Now, when you think of these Red Sox, I mean, they've got a lot of great sluggers, a lot of great talent. But number one, Pedro, maybe number two, Nomar. Or maybe Nomar number one, or number two, Pedro. Anyway, they're both right up there. You have to include Manny as well. But those two names always seem to be at the forefront. And Joe, Pedro Martinez, he's been up and down so far this year, but he had a great one Tuesday in San Diego.
Well, all the talk I heard about this past week was his great curveball and his changeup. Well, that's not the most important pitch for Pedro. The most important pitch for Pedro is his fastball. He has to work off of his fastball. That makes everything else go. When he doesn't have his good fastball, people sit on his changeup and his curveball. I've watched him pitch for years and years. His fastball is the key to his success.
All right, so he had a great one in San Diego last Tuesday. Nomar, he's back. Now, the Red Sox last year, they led the planet in offense, but they've been more ordinary so far this year without Nomar. Now he's back.
Well, I think that's the big difference, John. They are ordinary now. This is not the offensive juggernaut they had last year, and they've been without Nomar. He's not even hitting in his customary third spot now. He's in the fifth spot now. But Nomar brings an energy to this ball club. He brings an excitement. He brings everything that this team needs. He brings it, but guess what? They better start doing something right away because the Yankees aren't going to wait.
All right, so the Yankees won again today. A miraculous come-from-behind victory over the Padres. But remember, the Red Sox are taking on the Dodgers. They're up top in the National League West. And this is the rubber match of the series. Hideo Nomo, the former Red Sox, will be going for the Dodgers. He's been a missing link for L.A. this year. They're looking for him to be much stronger tonight. And Sean Green, he's been a missing link for 2 years now. The slugger, and he's not been doing a whole lot of slugging. He has hit well against the Red Sox in the past. Dodgers, Red Sox, rubber match coming up.
ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, brought to you by the Principal Financial Group. We understand what you're working for. And Subway. It's what to eat when you want to eat fresh. Subway. Eat fresh.
Outside Fenway Park, it is a beautiful evening here, but there is a crispness in the air. Almost a touch of September. Inside the ballpark, let's take a look now at the Los Angeles Dodgers batting order. It will be Dave Roberts, the igniter, the speedster, up top in left field. Then Cesar Izturis, and he has been a revelation as a hitter, a breakout season for him offensively. Milton Bradley, the former Cleveland Indians star, in center field. He is looking to get it going now. Sean Green, second year in a row There has not been a whole lot there. They're waiting for the breakout. Paul Loduca, he has been sensational. 355. He's the catcher. Adrian Beltre, fast start this year. 40 runs batted in for the third baseman. Juan Encarnacion, he has struggled, but the former Marlin has 32 batted in. Olmedo signs the DH in the American League ballpark using the American League rules. And it will be Alex Cora hitting ninth. He also has had a very robust offensive season, hitting .282. And that's all up against Pedro Martinez. Pedro on the mound for the Boston Red Sox. And you see his total 6-3. That a rather high earned run average for him.
Well, Pedro, again, it's going to depend on his fastball. We're talking about all the other pitches that he throws, but his fastball makes everything else better. And all the great power pitchers, they have to have their fastball because they work off of their fastball by moving the fastball in and out and using the off-speed pitches.
Also here with us is our colleague, Sam Ryan. Sam?
Well, John, you're talking about Pedro, and after several shaky outings, Pedro approached pitching coach Dave Wallace, wanted to make some minor adjustments with his delivery. So last weekend in Kansas City, they sat down, they broke down some videotape. They noticed the problem was with his front foot. His landing was a little bit too harsh, Dave told me. Said it was throwing off his upper body. They wanted to soften the landing a little bit. Dave told me, hey, Pedro is a smart guy. He's a special guy. He got it right away, guys.
All right, so Dave Wallace, the pitching coach, and he was a former Dodger pitching coach. Now here in Boston with the Red Sox.
But again, I know that there are a lot of different techniques, you know, landing softly, landing straight on, all those things may come into play, but again, it's going to depend on how his velocity is. If he has good velocity, Pedro will be Pedro. If he doesn't have the good velocity, he's going to have to try to trick him, and I don't think that's going to work.
And I thought the soft landing led to the better fastball.
Well, let's hope so. Well, most of the things I read, they were talking about his curveball and his changeup and how he got more break on his curveball from that landing.
And the first pitch in there, a changeup for a called strike to Dave Roberts. And so we are underway at Fenway Park. Oh, and 1 the count to Dave Roberts. And it is 0-2. And we had that one at 82, but the stadium radar gun said 88 miles an hour, and he swung at it more like a fastball.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a changeup.
0-2 the count to Dave Roberts. Roberts, the Maury Wills protege, 293 average, 21 steals. He's only been thrown out 1 time. And that's going to be a foul out of play off to the left.
Sometimes Pedro does start the game off slowly, so to speak, with his fastball, and he kind of gears it up as the game progresses. Because I think he needs to be over 90 to dominate the hitters as he likes to do with his fastball and his changeup.
Up the middle, that's a base hit to center field.
Well, let's take a look at the defense behind Pedro. See the dimensions of this ballpark. Very unusual. And you have Ramirez, Johnny Damon, and Kapler in the outfield. Garcia Parra back at his customary shortstop. And there you see what he's done since he's been back. And Pokey Reitz at second base, a Gold Glove winner. So, on a couple of occasions.
And then had Bellhorn playing some second base with Nomo coming back, and the rookie Kevin Youkilis had been over at third base. Tonight Youkilis is out, and Pokey's back in there as East-Touris takes a called strike. Now this is the spot where Dave Roberts has excelled. As you see the numbers of East-Touris, a .318 average. He was in the past a good field no-hit kind of a player, but he's hitting plenty right now and still excellent on defense. There's that bunt. Pedro's going to have to hurry. Just in time. Roberts over to second.
Well, Pedro was holding the ball a long time, which a lot of people think keeps the base runner from running. But there you see his East-Touris. He's not exactly sacrificing. He's just trying to drop this down and maybe beat it out. But at worst, he would move Roberts in the scoring position, which is what he does here.
There's an old baseball man named Connie Ryan.
or no Connie.
He used to call that
New Connie.
Used to call that bunt the double dip.
Yeah, well, and that's what you do when you have a guy with speed.
Try to beat it out, but at worst, move that runner up. Here's Milton Bradley trying to bring him in now. So this is interesting, Joe. I mean, here in Fenway, they're not used to seeing that kind of ball. First guy gets on, the second guy of the whole game bunts. Not in the designated hitter era.
But again, that wasn't a sacrifice. He was going for the double dip. If he beats it out, they're going to accomplish the same thing, have a runner at second with no one out.
Bradley, former American leaguer with the Cleveland Indians, was having a big season with Cleveland last year when he got hurt. Missed the rest of the year. Then he had the run-in with the manager, Eric Wedge, in Cleveland near the end of spring training. And the Indians said, hey, he's out of here. And the Dodgers, looking for a hitter, were eager to get him. And that's a base hit to right field. Kepler charging hard. Roberts heading home. Cut off by Millar. Now they've got Bradley in a rundown. Back to Millar. Did he get him? Yes, he did. And Bradley is retired. But the Dodgers have a 1-0 lead.
Well, I think if you're Bradley, you have to realize who's running. Dave Roberts is running. And he got a great jump from second base on the ball. They were not going to get him at the plate. And if you stay at first base, I mean, there's no one out. You do that a lot of times with 2 outs. You force him to cut the ball and to let the run score. But in this case, they did not need to let the run score because Roberts got a great jump. And he was going to score easily on the ball to right field.
Sean Green now with 2 down and nobody on. And that breaking ball is in there for a called strike from Pedro. 1-1 the count. Sean Green, just 2 years ago, was a 40 home run man. In fact, 2 straight years. He had 49 one year, 42 the next. Last year, he slumped to only 19 homers, and he's hit 8 so far this year with a 245 average. 0-2. That's falling in, base hit. Another 2-strike hit. With Roberts and Green have had 2-strike hits now against Pedro. 3 hits in the inning for L.A.
Well, he's jammed both of them, and they just had a little soft liners into the outfield. But the reason for that is because both of the pitches were up. This is a fastball. It's up, and it's in, and he jams him. And good hitters fight balls off, and he fights this one off, and it goes into short left field for a base hit. But that's even more of a reason why Bradley should not have gotten thrown out in between first and second.
Now Paul Loduca. And that's called strike. I mean, there's a tendency for some base runners, a lot of base runners, to say, well, I'm just going to go out here and they'll cut it off and get me out without taking that into account.
Right.
When there's no need for that.
Yeah, you have to remember who's running from second base, and Dave Roberts is maybe the fastest guy on the team, so he was going to score easily.
Don't be so fast to sacrifice yourself. Use that weapon. You got a weapon like Dave Roberts who has so much speed.
Yeah.
Just let him go. But also, I'm giving Kepler some credit. He hit the cutoff man.
Correct.
And it paid off. He's tourist number 3 talking with Roberts in the L.A. dugout. The Dodgers have jumped ahead of Pedro 1-0 here. And that slider off the outside. 2-1 the count. To Loduca. Loduca has been about as tough an out as there's been in the National League this year. 355 average. Not a power hitter, although he's got 4 home runs now. 12 doubles and 26 runs batted in. That is Green over at first. Green in his American League days used to steal a lot of bases. He was a 30-30 man with the Blue Jays for a couple of years. 30 homers, 30 steals plus. But Green did not run much anymore. He's only stolen 1 time this year for L.A. Pedro Martinez trying to get it going. He's actually only retired 1 hitter, and that hitter bunted. Green dives back to the bag safely. The Yankees won today. They came from behind twice, once in the 9th inning against Trevor Hoffman, and then once in extra innings against Rod Beck and company. That's a foul out of play. 3-2 the count. To Loduca.
I think there has to be a sense of urgency if you're the Red Sox. The urgency is, of course, to get Garcia Parra back to his normal playing conditions and to get Trot Nixon back. and then you'll be at full strength.
3-2. There goes Green. Struck him out.
And he finally reached 93 miles an hour on the radar gun, so that's where I think he needs to be.
But the Dodgers get a run. 3 hits. Nomar, Manny Ramirez. 2 of the Red Sox will be coming up. Sunday night baseball from Fenway Park. 1-0. The Dodgers out in front of the Red Sox as we start the last half of the first inning. And those are the monster seats here at Fenway Park above the big wall in left field. Here's the Boston batting order now, turned in by manager Terry Francona. Johnny Damon, the leadoff man, in center field. Then Mark Bellhorn, 262 average, but a very high on-base average. He's at third. David Ortiz, 54 runs batted in for the DH. Then Manny Ramirez, one of the best hitters in the game. Power, speed, RBIs, well, not so much speed.
Well, he runs well.
Runs all right. Nomar back in the lineup. He's back in town, his 4th game back. Jason Varitek, one of the best hitting catchers in the American League. Kevin Millar, and the RBIs have not been there for Millar so far, hitting 7th. Gabe Kapler in right field, and then Pokey Reese is at second base, batting 9th, all up against Dodger right-hander, the former Red Sox right-hander, Hideo Nomo. And the first pitch, a fastball down and away, 1 ball and no strikes.
And Nomo is very similar to Pedro in that he needs to have good bit of velocity on his fastball, so they have to look for the fastball to make his changeup and his splitter more effective.
That's the high strike.
And I think he is definitely the key to the Dodger hopes this year. I mean, I think he can be the staff leader that they're looking for.
1 ball, 1 strike to Damon. And that is strike 2. I mean, Hideo Nomo has been excellent ever since returning to the Dodgers. But it has not been there for him so far this year. You saw that earned run average, 7.33 in 10 starts. There's the splitter. It's down and away. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Nomo has not had much in the way of a fastball. I asked Jim Colburn about the problems for Nomo, and he said, well, it's mainly been stuff. Stuff has not been good, although it was better the last time he pitched. His first game back from the disabled list, according to Colburn.
Well, the key is if your best pitch is your splitter and your changeup and your curve, then you have to make them respect your fastball. Even if you just have to throw it out of the zone to give them another speed, so they can't just sit on the curveball and the change.
That's a pop foul, back out of play. Still 3-2 now to Johnny Damon. Mark Bellhorn and David Ortiz to follow.
Major league hitters are very smart. Plus, they watch film of your last game, and if you weren't using the fastball to set up your other pitches, they will sit on the off-speed pitches.
A base hit. Only an 84-mile-an-hour fastball, and Damon hit it hard.
And let's take a look at the defense behind Hideo Nomo. And the short porch in left field. Dave Roberts is out there. Bradley and Canarcion. A lot of speed in the Dodger outfield. And his Turris and Cora are 2 of the best defensive players in the National League.
But they really have 3 center fielders playing in their outfield right now. Here is Bellhorn. Bellhorn with a batting average of only 262, but his on-base average 392. He gets a lot of walks, 46 walks this year. And so Terry Francona tries to take advantage of that high on-base average, putting him near the top of the order again in front of the sluggers. There goes Damon. Loduca's throw, too late.
One of the things you force a pitcher to do is change his motion. A guy that has an unorthodox delivery, as Nomo does, the high leg kick, you force him to change it. You see him speeding things up there. And it was a good pitch to throw on. It just showed that Damon had a great jump off of Nomo, and the throw is late.
Runner at second, 2-0 the count, and that's a strike. 2-1 now to Mark Bellhorn. Now the Red Sox, as a team, have had 4 sacrifice bunts this year, and all 4 of them were laid down by Pokey Reese.
Yeah, they do not bunt very often.
That's a called strike on the outside.
And a good fastball. That had good movement on it. And it's not so much just the velocity, but that one had good movement tailing away from Bellhorn.
Because, I mean, it was not a high-velocity fastball.
No, 87 is okay as long as you have movement and good location.
2-2 the count. Damon at second. Nobody out. The splitter. Check swing. Appealed by the Dodgers. And Bill Hahn, the third base umpire, says no swing. 3-2 the count to Bellhorn. David Ortiz, the big power hitters are coming up next. Ortiz, Manny Ramirez, Nomar, Varitek. 3-2. And the splitter in the dirt. And so the Red Sox playing it differently than the Dodgers. The Dodgers got Roberts on, and instead of stealing him, Izturis bunted. I mean, he was trying to beat it out, but he was thrown out. Damon steals the bag, and now Bellhorn is on as well. The Lowe's home team advantage. The Red Sox, since the beginning of last year, have an excellent record. They've won almost 2 out of every 3 they played here at Fenway Park. That's the second best home record in Major League Baseball in that time. Only the Oakland Athletics have played better at home than have the Red Sox. Here's Ortiz, and he loves it at home. The splitter down and away. I know you chatted with David before the game. We should be hearing parts of your chat with David Ortiz, but there's a high comfort level for him looking at that big wall in left field.
Well, he says he's basically a pull hitter, but pitchers try to stay away and move it away, and that allows him to go the other way, and he can hit the short porch in left field.
1 ball, no strikes. Now 2-0. So Nomo getting into some deep trouble here early on. Ortiz, who is hitting .324 with men in scoring position.
Well, the problem is if you can't throw the fastball and you don't want to throw it and just try to spot it, you're just asking for trouble, because you can only put off the inevitable so long because you're going to have to throw a fastball. Now, he's thrown 2 splitters and whatever. Now David Ortiz just sits there and waits for the fastball. Now that fastball looks better when it's 2-0 than it would have looked the first pitch. In fact, Ortiz was taking the first pitch. You're going to have to use your fastball. It doesn't matter who you are. You can't pitch 9 innings without using your fastball.
Big pitch here. 2-0. 2 men on, nobody out. This should be 2. Izturis on the back for 1 to first. A double play. Damon over to third.
Well, he got, in my opinion, he got away there because he made an excellent pitch. He got it in, but I think he surprised Ortiz by throwing it inside. Because, see, the target's set up inside, and he gets the inside corner, and Ortiz is late on it. He actually gets jammed on a 2-0 fastball, which is surprising. He'd seen 2 changeups or 2 splitters, so I guess he was looking for another splitter, but that was a fastball, and that's what you have to do. I mean, you're going to have to throw the fastball in order to compete.
Ortiz not used to that happening. He's been the big RBI man for the Red Sox, and here's another great RBI man. Manny Ramirez, a check swing and a ball in the dirt. And on the appeal, Mark Carlson rules in favor of Manny. Manny hits for average. .342. Hits for power. He gets 17 homers. And there's always been a great RBI man. He's got 45 driven in.
And the big statistic there for me, John, was his on-base percentage, .435. I mean, that's good. I mean, excellent, actually.
He's walked 39 times. 1 ball and no strikes. Damon at third, 2 down. That fastball in the hands, and he bloops it into right field. Damon in to score, and the game is tied. And many in the crowd at Fenway standing as they applaud and they cheer for Nomar Garcia-Parra. And he's had some great years here in Boston and was in the middle of a lot of trade talks in the offseason. And that's up and in for ball 1 to Nomar. This is only his 4th game back from the disabled list. He's had 2 hits in 8 at-bats and 2 runs batted in. Nomar's won batting titles. He's been a big RBI man for the Red Sox. Hits with power. Covers a lot of ground at shortstop.
And I think he's been the leader of this team by example. I mean, the way he plays the game.
And Nomo tries looked like a slider that time. Missed down and away with it. 2-0 the count.
When you look at Nomar Garciaparra, as I said, he brings excitement to the team. He brings an energy to the field. Most of these guys are kind of laid back. If you look at the Red Sox, most of them are kind of quiet guys, all laid back kind of people.
Another slider, a high one in there for a strike. 2-1. Nomar, among all active players, has the 3rd highest career batting average. Only Todd Helton and Vladimir Guerrero are above Nomar, who's hitting .323 lifetime. Oh, man. The splitter, 2-2.
That's the one thing that Nomar's always done. He's a very aggressive hitter.
He does not often take a walk. Runner at first, Manny Ramirez. 2 down, a run in. The game tied at 1. Hideo Nomo on the mound, facing Nomar. Former teammates. And the fastball. And he blew it by him. So that's the inning. That, I think, was the only fastball Nomar saw in that at-bat. It is 1-1. Adrian Beltre coming up for L.A. Sunset in New England. Sunday night baseball from Fenway Park. The Dodgers got one in the first against Pedro, and the Red Sox equalized. They got one of their own against Nomo. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan. The rubber match of this 3-game interleague series. And Adrian Beltre, the L.A. third baseman, leads off here against Pedro. Now he takes the ball. 1 ball and 1 strike. Beltre, he had a painfully poor. I mean, it just chokes me up even to think about it, Joe. Painfully poor first half of last season. Oh, there's a pretty sharp curveball. 1-2 the count, but he got off to an excellent start this year, but he got a bone spur in his ankle. He's going to need to have surgery, and it causes him pain. He limps around a lot. Check swing and a foul. Every once in a while, he's got to sit out a game because of it. And they're just hoping that he's going to be able to get through the season without having to have that surgery.
And it would be very unfortunate if he doesn't get through the season because, I mean, this is the year that he's been looking for, the kind of start he wanted to have. And the numbers he wanted to put up for an entire season. I mean, this could be a breakout season.
Pedro coming right after him with the high hard one there. 91-mile-an-hour fastball. 1 ball and 2 strike. Beltre is only 25 years old. He's from the Dominican Republic. He's been around for a long time. You see, last year he finished at 240, but he got to 240 because he had such a fine second half. Now the curveball misses. 2 balls, 2 strikes. You know, seeing him in this ballpark, and let's face it, we don't see the Dodgers in this ballpark. First time the Dodgers have been here in 89 years this weekend. 2-2 the count to Beltre. He looks like he'd do some damage if he got to play here all the time, doesn't he?
Well, this is definitely a good hitter's ballpark. And he is a guy that pulls the ball. At least he used to pull it a lot more, and he could take advantage of that short left field wall.
2-2 to shortstop. Nomar. Still got that great arm. 1 away in the Dodgers second. Sam Ryan standing by with the new owner of the Dodgers, the Bostonian, Frank McCourt. Sam?
That's right, John. Frank McCourt grew up in Boston, a die-hard Red Sox fan, tried to buy the Red Sox, now the Dodgers owner. What are you feeling? Are you rooting for the Sox? Are you rooting for the Dodgers? How difficult is this for you?
Oh, in this business, it's 100% or nothing, and I'm all Dodgers all the time, and it is a thrill to be back here in Boston. There's no question about that, but I'm proud to bring the Dodgers here. it's been a great weekend.
Well, you gave us the politically correct answer there. Now, when you attempted to buy the Red Sox, you had visions of a new Fenway Park. They have made some changes here. What do you think of the improvements here?
Oh, I think that John Henry and the other owners here have done a great job here. You know, coming here all my life, I've seen the improvements that they've made over the last couple of years. I tip my cap to them. I think it's a great atmosphere here at the ballpark.
As a lifelong Red Sox fan, what do you bring to the Dodgers?
Well, you know, you mentioned John and Larry and Tom and their colleagues here. They were out-of-towners as well, and they came into Boston, and I think they had a fresh look at things, and they've improved things here for the fans, and they put an incredibly competitive team on the field. We're going to do the same thing in L.A. We're going to bring energy and excitement to that marketplace. It's a storied franchise, a tremendous franchise. We're going to get back to its winning ways, and, hey, maybe we'll be back here in October.
Well, Frank McCourt, continued success.
Thanks kindly. Nice to be with you.
All right, Sam, thanks. And Frank McCourt, whose grandfather was once a part owner of the old Boston Braves. And Encarnacion down on strikes. Pedro Martinez with his second strikeout of the game. 2 down.
Well, I think what is happening with Pedro is he is establishing his fastball, as we talked about. And, I mean, he knows that he can throw his fastball by just about anyone, especially with 2 strikes on it.
High and tight there to Olmedo Signs. 1 ball and no strikes. Dodgers making good use of the designated hitter rule. Signs had 4 RBIs as the DH. Yesterday, the Dodgers put 14 runs on the board. That one a liner, but right to Manny Ramirez. 3 up and 3 down. It is 1-1 at the end of 1.5 innings. The countdown of some of our great moments of Major League Baseball over 15 years. Everybody standing in left field, lower deck and upper, plus the bleachers. There it goes! Can you count to 70? A 3-run homer! 70! And as usual, Mark McGwire delivers. What a year that was, 1998. One of our top moments of Sunday Night Baseball and Major League Baseball coverage on ESPN during the last 15 years. And I think that was Bob Carpenter.
And I think it was a great call. Can you count to 70? Because some of us can't. You know, might have trouble getting to 70.
If I now I'm taking it personally. What does he mean? Can you count to 70? Of course I can count to 70. Or, you know, most of the way. I can do it by 10s. There's a called strike to Jason Varitek. Kevin Millar and Gabe Kapler to follow against Hideo Nomo. 1-1 is the score, last of the second. Well, Nomo and Pedro both were off to shaky starts. 3 of the first 4 hitters in each of their first innings reached base against them, and yet they got through it rather inexpensively. I think a base running mistake by Milton Bradley was a big assist to Pedro, but Hideo helped himself, getting David Ortiz to hit a double play ball when he was in trouble.
Well, Pedro righted his ship already, though. He was throwing well the last inning, the top of this inning.
Jason Varitek, splitter in the dirt for a ball. Varitek, the switch hitter, 283 average, 8 homers, 24 driven in. He is one of several Red Sox who'll be a free agent at the end of this year. I mean, there is kind of an urgency, you would think, around the Red Sox, with so many guys maybe heading elsewhere at the end of the season. Could be the last chance for this particular group of Red Sox to win a World Series.
Well, I think Varitek is very, very important to this ball club. I mean, he's the leader of their pitching staff. He's a fine catcher, and he adds a lot offensively. I think he's one of the most important free agents they're going to have this year.
They got a fastball. Strike 2. 3-2 the count. Nomar, Pedro, Derek Lowe, Jason Varitek, and David Ortiz has already signed an extension amongst those possible free agents. That ball was just hammered right over toward the Dodger dugout. Looked like it hit the facing of the dugout roof. I hope that's what happened. I mean, when you're at Fenway Park, you're right on top of the action, and you're in the line of fire on a foul ball like that. You've got to keep your eye on the ball. Back back to the screens to 3-2 to Varitek.
And the one thing you see with Nomo, he's trying to throw the fastball up. That's where he has the most velocity. And he can maybe get a swing through if he can get it high and maybe above the strike zone.
You can see how close that dugout is to the foul line here at Fenway Park. 3-2 the count. And that high fastball well up out of the strike zone. Second walk already allowed by Hideo Nomo. Tomorrow night, more Major League Baseball over on ESPN 2, 8 Eastern. It'll be Moises Alou and the Chicago Cubs up against Jeff Bagwell and the Houston Astros, two of the top contenders in that wild National League Central Division where it seems like almost everybody's a contender. Cubs, Astros from Houston. And Joe, what a matchup tomorrow. The Rocket, Roger Clemens, he's 9-0, but he's up against Mark Pryor. Maybe the King up against maybe the future King.
Well, the one thing difference there is that Pryor is trying to work himself back into shape because he had a great first start and a poor second one. Now, you know, he's trying to work his way back. And Roger's just been phenomenal the whole year.
Yeah, I feel confident in saying that. I think Roger's already in shape.
Yeah.
One strike to count to Kevin Millar, and that's too high to Millar. 1 ball, 1 strike. Mark Pryor, and you see he was dazzling in that first start back from the disabled list. And he did have some starts in the minor leagues and a rehab. But the Rocket is 9-0. Ball and a strike. To Millar. There goes the runner. The ball is swung on. A fly ball into right. Encarnacion's got a strong arm. And Varitek didn't know where the ball was. But the throw-in from Encarnacion is offline. And Varitek makes it back.
What happened was they were decoying Varitek at second base. And this is unusual for the Red Sox anyway. They're not used to hitting and running or bunting or doing much of anything on the bases. And you see Varitek is still running. And you see you see Alex Cora at second base faking like the throw is coming from third base. And he only gets back because the ball is offline from Encarnacion. He had plenty of time. He just threw it offline.
I thought I saw Eastouris act like he was underhanding the ball to Cora at second base. And Cora was there pretending like he was catching it.
That's why when you do not know where the ball is, you should look at the third baseman, not the second baseman or the shortstop. And then you can find the ball because he'll be looking at where the ball is. You're always going to get decoyed by the shortstop and the second baseman. That's part of infield play 101. You always do that.
Now, apparently, Joe, we have both Eastouris and Cora wearing microphones tonight. So we may be able to listen in to just exactly the con job. The flim-flam they were pulling on Varitek there. Let's take a look and a listen.
Well, I tell you what, if Varitek understood him, okay, I didn't.
That's off the glove of Loduca, and over to second base goes Varitek.
Well, that's going to be a pass ball. The pitch was just inside, and Loduca could not handle it.
And that is, of course, the official scoring. 3-0 the count to Gabe Kapler. Now Varitek is at second base. But I think I'm going back to the fact that he got deked out there, because that is common practice.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Red Sox don't do a whole lot of hitting.
They do not, and they do not do a lot of sacrificing. They're pretty much just a hit and hope team, and they do not take a lot of extra bases. They're pretty much station to station kind of a team too, and except when they hit the ball out of the ballpark.
It's almost like Varitek got there and said, you know, I do remember reading how some guys are dishonest and try to deke you into thinking. Out in left center. Now the wind is blowing out, and that ball got carried pretty well, but Milton Bradley back on the edge of the warning track made the grab. And holding at second is Varitek, 2 down. Time of the ESPN.com Sunday Night All-Stars Fantasy Line Update. The top players ranked at each position according to their performance. And you'll be able to see the best from the past 7 days at a quarter past the hour. And the best players over the last 30 days at 45 past the hour. I like to say a quarter after and a quarter up.
All right.
Because I used to be a second baseman myself, Joe. And I'm into deacon. But that's no deke. It's 15 past the hour and 45 past the hour. Or a quarter after and a quarter up. 2 down, Pokey Reese now trying to knock in the run. It's 1-1. Pokey up against Hideo Nomo. Pokey hitting .263. That's pretty good for Pokey.
And he's had some big RBI games and some clutch hits for this ball club. I think that's why he's still in there. You know, last year, this ball club could have used the Pokey Reese, because of his defense. They had just the greatest offense. This year, they may have to platoon him, which they're doing now, because they need some more offense. This is not the same offensive ball club that they had last year.
Well, they've also, their defense, even with Pokey, has not been very good. They have allowed 41 unearned runs.
And compare that to the Dodgers, who've only allowed 11 unearned runs. So a big difference there, when you put your ball club, your pitcher into those positions.
Absolutely. Now, I compared them not just against the Dodgers, but against every other team in the majors. And I found out this. No other team has allowed as many unearned runs as have the Red Sox in either league. Dodgers have allowed 11 unearned runs. That's a high splitter. Foul back and out of play. 1 ball and 2 strikes. But how about this? The Red Sox have only made 3 errors with either Pedro or Schilling pitching this year. They've made 46 errors behind all their other pitchers.
Well, 2 things. One, more people put the ball in play against the other pitchers than they do Pedro and Schilling. They're also strikeout pitchers. Just looking for a reason. I don't know what the reason could be.
Well, speaking of strikeouts, Hideo Nomo gets one there. A runner stranded at second. On to the 3rd inning now. Cora, then Roberts and his tourists coming up for the Dodgers. It's 1-1.
ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, brought to you by Lowe's, where you'll find all your home improvement needs. Lowe's, improving home improvement.
Top of the 3rd inning, the 9th place hitter for the Dodgers, and it's not a pitcher. The Dodgers are playing American League ball. Interleague play. 2004, Alex Cora is hitting 9th. And then the top of the order to follow against Pedro Martinez. 1 ball and no strikes. Fastball a little bit inside. 2-0 now to Cora, who's hitting .282. The Dodgers have been excited about the defensive play of both Cora and these tourists up the middle. But unlike last year, they're both also hitting.
Yeah, I don't think there's a better shortstop defensively than is Tourist. I mean, he is just magnificent at making double play and going in the hole. He's just a great shortstop. And Cora is a very, very fine second baseman.
Well, how about Omar Vizquel in Cleveland?
Well, but look, Omar has been what you judge most shortstops by. But I think, let's be honest, I think he's lost maybe a half a step. And that's all. So now he is, well, you want to say, I just think his Tourist is as good as anybody in the game.
How about Tejada?
I think his Tourist is as good as anybody in the game defensively.
3-2 the count to Alex Cora. In the center field, Johnny Damon, a lot of room out there, and 1 away. 1-1 tie. We're in the 3rd inning from Fenway Park. The MetLife blimp, Snoopy 1, is cruising the skies high above Fenway, providing us with aerial coverage of tonight's Red Sox-Dodger ball game. The blimp typically cruises at a speed of 35 miles an hour at an altitude of 1,200 feet. So look to the skies for the MetLife blimp in a town near you, and that's the view from blimp side. There's ball 1 now to Dave Roberts. Roberts on a 2-strike pitch hit a single to lead off the game for LA, and he scored a run. I think he's a real key to the Dodgers offense. He's got to stay healthy all year long.
And he's had problems staying healthy. He's had hamstring pulls. He just seems to injure his legs, but he looks like he stays in great shape. and I see him always stretching, so I'm surprised that he continues to have problems with his legs.
Change up from Pedro for a strike. I mean, he's hitting .298 for the year, but he's already had a trip to the disabled list. He missed a huge amount of time on the DL last year. But when he's in there and he's healthy, look what he can do. I mean, he's hitting, that curveball apparently a little bit high. 2-1 the count. But he has 21 steals and has only been thrown out one time. That's Will's life.
Yeah, that's great.
It's not just getting a lot of steals. I mean, you need to, when you go, you need to make it. A lot of steals and a lot of caught stealings, that's
Evens out.
going to help you.
Yeah, it just washes out.
Or it might hurt you as much as it helps you. 2-2 the count. That pop foul, by the way, might have been playable at Dodger Stadium because there's immense foul territory in Dodger Stadium, and it's just the opposite here at Fenway. Pitcher gets no relief on a pop foul in this ballpark. They mostly go back out of play. 2-2 to Roberts. 1 out, nobody on. Struck him out on the high hard one.
And you see the difference in what I was talking about earlier. Pedro is now stepping it up a little bit, and that high fastball is just very difficult for anybody to catch up with after they've seen some change-ups and some off-speed pitches. I mean, right at the top of the strike zone. This is Pedro at his best when he sets you up and throws the fastball right by you.
Pretty good K-zone animation there, Joe. I want to compliment you from that angle.
I actually draw that before I get here and let them put it up once I get here.
The work you put in that people don't even see.
I take the protractor and all that stuff in the room and draw it up, and then I just bring it here.
You don't have to give away any secrets.
Oh, that's right. I shouldn't do that.
1 ball, 1 strike to East Torres. Not a lot of broadcasters, though, do all that other stuff that you do. 1-2 now to East Torres. By the way, we're talking about errors and the fact that when Pedro and Schilling pitch, unearned runs just don't seem to score. There have been only 2 unearned runs in Pedro's starts this year, and none in Schilling's 13 starts.
There you see the high fastball when he hammers it.
It's hit well, but the wind might have knocked it down a little bit out there, and Kepler back to catch it. That might have been a home run in most ballparks. That's Death Valley for a left-handed hitter here. Top of the order coming up. Top of the order for the Boston Red Sox. 3rd inning against Hideo Nomo, Johnny Damon, and he takes a called strike, and it is 0-1. Damon, Bellhorn, and Ortiz coming up. Damon led off the 1st inning with a single, stole 2nd, and later scored a run for Boston. Bluffs the bunt, takes a splitter in the dirt for a ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bellhorn on deck, then Ortiz. By the way, Joe, we're talking about the fact that when Pedro pitches and when Schilling pitches, hardly any unearned runs have scored, only 2 all year for the 2 of them combined. That one into left field, on the move, and getting there is Dave Roberts. And there is 1 away, so Damon is retired. But for the sinker baller, Derek Lowe, 11 unearned runs in his games.
Well, most of the reason for that, John, is that Pedro and Schilling are strikeout pitchers. If a guy makes an error behind them, they may strike out the next 2 guys. Where you said Derek Lowe and guys like that, they need you to turn the double play when they get the ground ball. If you make an error behind them, it puts them in jeopardy. But when you're a strikeout pitcher, you can strike out the side with the bases loaded, and that's what Pedro and Schilling offer. That's one of the reasons they're great pitchers. They can get out of jams where other pitchers cannot.
So, I mean, because all the pitchers are pitching in front of basically the same defense.
Yeah.
But having a strong defense means more to some than to others.
Yeah, they have more margin for error.
Bellhorn the hitter. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan. Sunday Night Baseball from Fenway Park, Boston. The Dodgers are at Fenway for the first time in 89 years. They're playing the Red Sox. They played them 2 years ago in interleague play at Dodger Stadium. We're playing them here in Boston for the first time since the 1916 World Series, 88 years ago. The only reason they played here at Fenway, they did not play the Red Sox at Fenway 89 years ago. They played the Boston Braves. The Atlanta Braves, before they were in Atlanta, were in Milwaukee, and before that they were in Boston. Boston used to have 2 teams. And Braves Field was bigger, and so they played the 1916 World Series over there when the Red Sox played it. And the Red Sox beat the then Brooklyn Robins in 5 games. That one down the right field line, a base hit. The carom played nicely down there by Encarnacion. That's a tricky corner. It's a double for Bellhorn with Ortiz coming up. Big day for Ken Griffey Jr. Here's an update from Trey Wingo.
John and Joe, thanks. Ramada proud to show you career home run number 499 for Ken Griffey Jr. Almost got 500 in the same game. Didn't quite get there. 499 for Griffey, but the Reds lose again, 10-8. Back to John and Joe at Fenway.
Reds have had a hard time of it in interleague play.
Yeah. You know, I'm almost tempted, John, to go over to Cincinnati tomorrow. Maybe see Ken Griffey Jr. hit his 500 home run.
You think it's coming tomorrow?
I think so.
Here's David Ortiz, Bellhorn at second. Ortiz hit a double play ball his first time against Nomo. In the dirt. Nice save by Loduca.
And that wasn't, you know, that ball hit 10 feet in front of home plate. That wasn't even close.
Bounced up into his sternum.
Yeah. Now watch this. Watch where this ball bounces. Look at that. I mean, that's way in front of home plate. That's just a very fine play to get his entire body. Watch how he jumps up with his entire body, gets it in front, catches him in the right shoulder, but that's a great job right there by Loduca.
1 ball, no strikes now to Ortiz. That one is a base hit to right field. Encarnacion with a strong arm, and Bellhorn will be held at third. For the Red Sox, 1 base at a time. And why not? You got Manny Ramirez, a great RBI man, coming up next. Why take any chances?
And unlike what we saw earlier, where we saw Kapler hit the cutoff man, and Encarnacion threw it all the way to the plate.
Here in Boston, you can just say Manny or Pedro or Nomar. First name is just sufficient.
Well, I think that's what this area brings to baseball. I mean, the people love the game, and you become a household name around here.
So here is Manny. He blooped the single to right to knock in a run his first time. His 46th RBI of the year. The middle infield looking for the double play here. Ortiz at first, Bellhorn at third, a 1-1 game. Third inning. Next down. And by the way, we want to say hello to all the baseball fans viewing tonight in the United Kingdom, the UK, on 5 TV. They carry Sunday Night Baseball regularly, hosted by Johnny Gold, who is here tonight at Fenway for the first time. That's why he's not doing the between innings narrations on 5 TV in England tonight. He's here. And apparently all of the things that he has discovered here and the people that he has met here will be seen on 5 TV in England when he gets back. There he is. Show him, Joe. Johnny, wait to us. That's him.
John, I don't think Nomo has a pitch to get Manny out with, and he's in a big jam right here.
Well, he ought to just walk it.
Well, that's what he's on his way to doing, because he doesn't have a good enough fastball. I don't think his curveball is good enough. The only thing he could hope for is Manny goes out of the strike zone, and he doesn't do that very often with a runner in scoring position. He's pretty patient. That's why he's such a great RBI man.
Well, it looks like Nomo so far has agreed with you.
But I think I would let him swing 3-0 if I was the manager here.
He swung. This is a double play ball. He's tourist to Cora. 1. The first 2. A double play. And that's the second double play. The Dodgers have turned against the Red Sox. No scoring. No more left on deck.
I actually wouldn't have let him hit.
Now the Dodgers in the 4th inning. And the big hitters are up. Milton Bradley, then the cleanup man, Sean Green, followed by Paul Loduca. It is 1-1 in the 4th. Pedro Martinez on the mound. And that's too low for ball 1 to Bradley. You know, Joe, the Red Sox style of play kind of worked against him there in the 3rd inning. Bellhorn was held up on that base hit by Ortiz with Manny Ramirez coming up, but he might well have scored. And, of course, Manny Ramirez, as great an RBI man as he is, he doesn't always get the guy.
No one gets him in every time. Let's take another look at the play, and I think you'll see a good job of base running by Mark Bellhorn right here. So he takes off, and he's going to be around third base before Encarnacion even picks the ball up, but you see he's already being stopped. by the third base coach.
Curveball just a little bit outside. 2-2.
And I thought that if they'd have let him go, he hadn't even picked up the ball yet, he would have been able to score. And as you said, you don't get that guy in from third every single time, even if you're Manny Ramirez.
The curveball is fouled by Bradley, who singled home a run his first time.
John, I was looking through my notes, and I read a thing here that said that Pedro Martinez and his brother Ramon, their father was a pitcher also in the Dominican.
2-2.
And every time I see him throw a curveball, it reminds me his father taught them the curveball. His father was a pitcher, and he pitched against the Alou brothers. You know, Manny, all the Alous, and also Manny Mota, who is the coach with the Dodgers. They all played against Pedro's father.
And Pedro ends up losing Milton Bradley, a leadoff walk for Bradley here in the 4th inning.
And Pedro's father was Paulino Jaime Abreu. And he was a pitcher of some note there in the Dominican.
And the Alou brothers were
famous. They became very famous.
I mean, Felipe,
Matty, and Jesus.
There you go.
Yeah. And Manny Mota. He pitched against all of them.
And all the Alou brothers and Manny Mota at one time were with the San Francisco Giants.
In the outfield together at once.
And that's a called strike.
It was interesting also because his brother Ramon, I looked up his record with the help of Marty Aronoff. He had 135 wins and 88 losses. That's Ramon. And in 1990, he won 20 games and lost 6.
And Ramon, former Dodger, and Pedro, former Dodger. And facing the Dodgers here at Fenway Park for the first time.
And they were also teammates here at Boston, and Ramon was 12-9 that year with the Red Sox. And my understanding now is he's in the construction business down in Florida. But he was a great pitcher. He had a great changeup and a great curveball like Pedro.
But he had a lot of arm trouble.
Yeah.
0-2 the count to Sean Green, who singled his first time. And now 1 ball and 2 strikes. But, you know, Pedro is apparently still has some bad feelings about the Dodgers because they got rid of him. They didn't think that he had the stamina, the body type, that he was going to break down.
Yeah, they didn't think he could be in every, you know, a top of the rotation type pitcher. But he proved everyone wrong.
They traded him to Montreal
for Delino de Shields, second baseman who
had several outstanding seasons in a row
with the Expos,
but was not able to duplicate that feat with the Dodgers. And Pedro became, once he left the Dodgers, got to start on a regular basis in Montreal. That is when he became one of the top pitchers in baseball. 2-2 the count to Sean Green. Paulo Duca on deck. And he curves him, but that didn't have a real snap to it.
No. And he looks good now. I mean, watching Pedro, he looks like he's in charge. Looks like he knows what he's doing out there. He looks like he's got a lot of confidence in his stuff tonight. And I did the game when he pitched against Anaheim, and he looked like he was searching every pitch. Now he seems to have a game plan. It's not working perfectly, but he knows what he wants to do every pitch.
I think Bradley's running right here. He's got some speed. 3-2 the count. There he goes. Sean Green lunging at that off-speed delivery.
Change up.
Fouling it, and it's still 3-2. Bradley will have to go back to first.
One of the things that Pedro does when he's in the stretch, he shortens his leg kick, and he jumps at you more, which makes the changeup more effective. He kind of quickens his motion to the plate, and that makes you think it's a fastball, and that makes the changeup look that much tougher to hit.
3-2 to Green. Bradley was running in the previous pitch. Now the throw! Out at first. John Shelby, the coach, gets into it with Mark Carlson.
Well, I think what they're saying is that he hit the ground. He did not hit his hand. I think that's what they're saying.
Now Jim Tracy, the manager's going to come out as well.
There's no doubt the throw beat him, and he was leaning the wrong way.
Here's Tracy. Bradley, and I think wisely so, departs. Bradley was suspended for 4 games here recently, although he is appealing that suspension.
And I really think Tracy went over there to protect Bradley rather than to argue this. Well, you can see he was leaning the wrong way, and he did not touch him. That's what he's arguing. See, he said he didn't touch me. He hit the ground, and you can see there that he hits the ground on the other side of his hand, and that's what Shelby and Bradley was arguing. Now watch where his glove hits. The throw beats him, and he reaches over and he touches the ground right there and not his arm, and that's what Bradley was arguing about, and that's what Shelby was saying.
And immediately Bradley was saying right there too, hey, he didn't touch me.
Well, another out made by Bradley on the bases, and Green follows with another base hit.
And Green into second with a double down the left field line. Well, that's twice now that Shawn Green, after getting 2 strikes, has been able to come back and get Pedro for a hit.
Well, but what he's doing is he's just going the other way. He got jammed the last time and hit a little flare to left center. He's going the other way. I think he's just trying to get his confidence, because this is not a power hitter swing. Now watch what he does here. Just reaches out and slaps it to left field. That's good hitting. And he's trying to build his confidence, because he has struggled most of the season, meaning Shawn Green. And a few base hits will do a lot for your confidence.
Here's Paul Lo Duca now to try and bring him home. It's a 1-1 game, 4th inning. 1 out. So Bradley got picked off. So Bradley had a good point. On the other hand, he was picked off.
Well, the throw beat him there.
He was leaning the wrong way, and they should have had it. Bradley, when Tracy came out to argue with Carlson, Bradley did turn around and leave, but he walked off the field very slowly, right across the infield in front of Pedro. And he had a few parting shots for Mark Carlson.
Well, I think part of it is the frustration, and you're embarrassed a little bit that you got picked off. There's one of my favorite players, Joey Amalfitano, patting him on the back.
Joey back as a coach with the Dodgers now. But I tell you what, when he went back to the dugout, the fans down there here at Fenway Park really gave it to him. I mean, here and probably Yankee Stadium, they go get you when you're from the out-of-town team.
And you give them a chance.
And you give them a chance. And they were just right down his throat. Lo Duca, who struck out his first time, but now the count is 3-1. 92-mile-an-hour fastball there from Pedro, but out of the strike zone. Adrian Beltre is on deck. In this inning, Pedro got ahead of Bradley 0-2 and then walked him. He got ahead of Green 0-2. Green then hit a double on a 3-2 count. Now he has fallen behind Lo Duca, 3-1. He's not retired a batter yet. That's a strike, a slider on the outside. And Lo Duca did not like the call. Bradley back in the dugout. Still looks like he's simmering a little bit. 3-2 the count to Lo Duca. And that's too low. Fastball, he had a little extra on it. But Lo Duca would not go out of the strike zone for it, and that's 3 consecutive Dodgers who've reached base in this inning.
Well, I think if you're Pedro, you realize that Lo Duca is the best average hitter on this ball club. And once you got behind, you tried to make perfect pitches, and he did on the 3-1 count. Tried to nail the outside corner knee high again, and he couldn't do that. Because he still has a situation here. Although Beltre is hitting well, he has a chance to get the double play if he gets the ground ball. Because Beltre is not running as he normally does because of the bone spur.
Now Beltre.
But not up there. If you get it up there, he's not going to hit it on the ground.
High fastball fouled back out of play. Pedro Martinez facing the Dodgers for the first time in nearly 7 years as we look at that last pitch with K-zone.
That's a high fastball right at the top of the strike zone.
Pedro was still with the Expos the last time he faced L.A., 1997, and he pitched a beauty and lost 1-0. Another high fastball that misses.
Yeah, but he's reaching back, getting a little extra, too.
He had a little
giddy up on that.
Whoa, howdy. That's Sean Green at second. Paul Loduca at first. 1 out. 1-1 in the 4th inning. Oh, man, that curveball, that was the hammer. Beltre, his body went halfway to the dugout.
But that comes from the arm speed of the fastball, and the curveball looks the same. And it's right on the inside corner. Great arm speed, great rotation, and Beltre gave up on it.
Beltre grounded out to short his first time. Encarnacion's on deck. Green at second, Loduca at first. Not time taken, and Baratek's going to go out and chat with Pedro. Pedro has, in this inning, not seemingly had the advantage when he's been ahead in the count. He's not put any hitter away yet that he's had 2 strikes on.
Well, one of the things, the reason for that, John, is that these hitters have been more patient. You see a lot of hitters go after Pedro with 2 strikes. They chase pitches. Loduca did it his first time up, but he would not chase any pitches in that at-bat. We saw Sean Green do the same thing, work the count to 3-2 and go the other way. We saw Bradley do the same thing. He from 0-2 to a walk. He didn't go out of the strike zone.
1-2 the count. 2 on, 1 out. Fastball away. And again at 94 miles an hour.
But they're not going out of the strike zone. I mean, that's the key. They're not chasing the fastball or the breaking ball off the plate.
Struck him out.
Now that's just perfect location, but that's going to be just a little off the plate also, but Beltre went after it. And you see he chases this one, whereas he would not chase the other one. And the other hitters didn't chase it. I mean, if he takes this, it's going to be 3-2. But that's just very difficult to do, and that's what Pedro gets you to do. You go out of the strike zone to chase his fastball, but the other hitters did not do that.
Now Encarnacion, he struck out his first time. 2 on, 2 out. That curveball, a broken bat. Nomar, and the put out for Pokey Reese, forcing Loduca. Nomar's coming up. Baratek and Millar behind him. Dodgers 1, Red Sox 1.
Finally over in Anaheim between the Angels and the Cubs. In the top of the 15th inning, Todd Walker slaps one through the right-hand side. Corey Patterson coming around to score, and he's ahead of the throw from Vlad Guerrero. 5 hours and 4 minutes it ended when Rob Quinlan popped it up with a man on, which could have won it in the bottom of the 15th. 6-5, Cubs win, guys. Back to you.
Wow. Cubs win in Anaheim in a 15-inning game. So that's over. Here at Fenway, the other LA area team is in a 1-1 tie with the Boston Red Sox. The Angels playing the Cubs of the National League. The Dodgers playing the Red Sox of the American League. Interleague play so far, the American League has a big advantage, although all the Interleague games so far have been played in the American League ballparks, which will change this week. 0-1 to Nomar. Nomo off the outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ken Griffey Jr. hit number 499 today at the Jake in Cleveland, although Cleveland won the game. The Yankees have won 16 of their last 19. And I don't know if they won any of them as remarkably as they won today, though. Down 2-0 in the 9th to San Diego against Trevor Hoffman. And what was it, 2 down?
Yeah.
And Matsui homered, and then pinch hitter Kenny Lofton followed that with a homer to tie the game. Then they fell behind 5-2 in the extra innings and got 4 in the bottom of the inning and won it anyway.
Well, John, remember 2 weeks ago I told you that they were only going to get better. And we hadn't even seen the best of them yet, and I still think that they're going to get better. I mean, they're going to get Giambi hot, you're going to get Jeter, you're going to get Bernie Williams, all these guys who contribute, and plus you have Alex Rodriguez and Sheffield, 2 of the best hitters in the game, to add to those guys. And Posada, I mean, it's just, they're going to get better offensively. The only hope if you're the Red Sox and the other teams are that you start to play great, and the fact is you hope that the Yankees pitching staff doesn't hold up. And, you know, they've got some injuries now with Messina and Kevin Brown.
Contreras still has not found himself in any kind of a groove. 3-2 now to Nomar. He struck out his first time against Nomo. Beltre and Millar will follow. We're in the fourth inning. It's 1-1. Hideo Nomo. He's had quite a career. He's had 2 excellent careers. One in Japan, one over here. And he walks Nomar to start the fourth inning. Sam Ryan, meanwhile, is out and about here at Fenway Park. Sam?
And, John, we were talking about some of the Fenway Park improvements earlier in the game. How about these seats? The new right field rooftop seats. Seating for about 200 up here. This is all new this season. Also, on this rooftop, an open-air pavilion. Standing room only, about 100. What's neat about that, on top of the rooftop, there's a bar built out of bricks from original Fenway Park construction. Just maintaining the Fenway tradition, guys.
All right, and Paul Lo Duca has had a tradition of making some spectacular catches as a catcher, and he almost added one to his collection right there, hustling over in that pop foul bunt by Varitek. There's the bar that Sam was talking about, and I can see those bricks down below that the bar is resting on. That bar, by the way, is 60 feet, 6 inches long.
Where have I heard that before?
60 feet, 6 inches.
Well, give me a moment. I'll think about it.
Here's Hideo Nomo, 60 feet, 6 inches from home plate.
Did we just notice that Jason Varitek squared around the bunt?
Well, he bunted the last one foul.
Yeah, I mean,
He's still bunting?
no, I mean, just the fact that he did attempt to bunt. I mean, that's very unusual for this ball club.
It's an aberration.
But I guess it was because Beltre is playing so deep at third base, you're just going to drop it down there. Here's Beltre way back here.
Now, just when Nomo threw that last ball to first base just a moment ago, the second baseman, look at Cora over there. Yeah. He started moving in as if he thought maybe Varitek was going to try and bunt again. Varitek giving no indication of bunting right there. 1 ball, 1 strike. I think he came back to his senses, Joe. What was I thinking?
Especially when he popped it up, and Lo Duca almost made a great play on it.
Varitek, although Varitek in the past was a more powerful hitter as a right-handed hitter than as a lefty. Ball on a strike. Runner at first, that's Nomar, and he's back to the bag. Nomo has walked 3 in the game and has allowed 4 hits. The Red Sox have had a lot of base runners in this one, and for that matter, so too have the Dodgers. The Dodgers put 6 men on base in 4 innings against Pedro. 7 Red Sox have reached against Nomo. Oh, the splitter. 1 ball and 2 strikes. By the way, Joe, we're talking about that Yankee game today, and you're talking about all that hitting. I mean, we know they got great players in that ball club, and a lot of them have not hit as well as you know they can hit and will hit. But David Wells went back to New York today and shut out the Yankees for 7 innings for the Padres. He jammed him with a fastball and a foul ball by Varitek. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And that is in the same week he came here to Fenway and shut down the Red Sox last Tuesday. Wells did not walk anybody at Yankee Stadium. He went 7 innings through 76 pitches. Padres have not lost too many games this year that they have led going into the 8th inning. Their bullpen has been superb, but not today. They've been using the great Japanese closer, Otsuka, for the 8th inning, and then Trevor Hoffman back from his surgery, and he's been great until today. Hoffman gave it up today. 1-2, and then a splitter in the dirt. 2-2 now. 1-1 the score here in the last of the 4th inning. Hideo Nomo, who's only averaged 4 2/3 innings per start this year, he has made a total of 10 starts, and his average innings per start is the lowest in all of Major League Baseball.
And you can see why, John. He's throwing a lot of pitches to, record every out. He doesn't get 1 pitch ground out. He doesn't get 2 pitch ground out. I mean, every hitter is seeing 4 and 5 pitches.
Well, he's thrown 70 pitches in this game already.
And we're in the 4th inning.
He's pitched 3 innings plus. He has not retired anybody in the 4th yet. Nomar, the runner at first. 2-2 the count to Barrett. Fastball too high.
And you see every time he throws his fastball, it's up because, again, that's where he gets the most velocity. And he's trying to get him to chase that pitch up and out of the strike zone. But he has not been able to entice anyone to do it.
Well, keep an eye on Nomar here. 3-2 the count. Nomar goes. And the splitter, strike 3, and Varitek
is claiming he fouled it. And the home plate umpire says no.
Now Terry Francona, the Boston manager, is going to come out of the dugout. And Francona is going to ask Gary Darling about it. I guess Joey probably wants him to ask another umpire.
Well, but I don't think you can on something like that. I mean, you can ask, but I don't think they have a better look at it than you do at the plate where you're listening. They can't, you know, from that distance. The umpire at home plate is the one that's listening for the foul tip. And he did not hear the foul tip. And it doesn't appear that he did, but, you know, you can't tell. That's why I don't think they could help him out from third base or first base either.
Now Kevin Millar. Nomar does get credit for a stolen base. Look at it. That got it. Kevin Millar hit by the pitch. So that puts 2 men on. Sunday Night Baseball from Fenway Park. The Los Angeles Dodgers atop the National League West up against the Boston Red Sox, second place in the American League East. The Dodgers and the Sox. The Dodgers scored first. Dave Roberts led off the game with a single, got bunted to second, and Milton Bradley singled him home against Pedro Martinez. And then the Red Sox scored in their half of the first inning. Johnny Damon had a single, a stolen base, and eventually Manny Ramirez singled him home. It's been the only scoring so far. Nomo and Pedro both throwing a lot of pitches in this game. Nomo just throws his 74th of the night. For ball 1 to Gabe Kapler. Pedro's thrown 72 pitches in his first 4 innings.
But his looks a little different. The results may be the same as far as number of pitches, but he looks like he's in better command and better control of the game than Nomo does.
And the slider for a called strike on the outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. One thing, though, about Pedro, 72 pitches, 4 innings. Pitch count is always an issue with Pedro. The Red Sox do not like for him to throw more than 100 pitches for the most part. And he's closing in on 100, and he's only pitched 4 innings. Fastball, that one off the mask of the plate umpire, Gary Darling. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Gabe Kapler. 1-1 tied, last of the 4th inning. Kapler flied out to left center his first time. Red Sox need a big hit here. Nomo, and Nomo's always been like this throughout his career. He seems to be tougher when there are men on base. The splitter, low and outside. 2-2. 2 men on, 1 man out. Nomar, who walked and stole second. There he is at second. And then Millar, who got hit by a pitch at first. Becoming the 8th man to reach base against Nomo for the Red Sox in these first 4 innings. 2-2 the count. Nomo studying Loduca. Now Kapler tired of waiting, and he asked for timeout and backed away. 1-1 in the 4th. Now Loduca's just going to go out and talk to him. Tomorrow night now, Ahmad Rashad will sit down with 4 athletes that have transcended their respective sports. Tiger Woods, Charles Barkley, Peyton Manning, and Pete Sampras. They'll discuss the past, present, and future on this ESPN special. It's all exclusive with Ahmad Rashad tomorrow at 7 Eastern on ESPN. Well, a high fastball. Now, who do you think wanted that? Nomo wanted it or Loduca wanted it?
Well, I think that Nomo wanted it. His pattern tonight has been, if he's going to throw the fastball, he's going to throw it high. I think LaDuca was probably calling for a changeup or a splitter, and he wanted to throw the high fastball.
2-2 the count. Try it again. Fastball again.
But that one wasn't up. He was trying to get it up. He did not get that one up. That one got a little piece of the plate on the outside corner.
So Nomo really has been changing speed in that fastball. He's been getting 88, 89 when he's really needed to. Other times he's throwing 84, 83. The splitter down the left field line and off the wall. Roberts plays the carom. Nomar in to score. Millar to third. It's a double for Kepler, and the Red Sox lead 2-1.
John, if you're the hitter and you've been sitting over there watching, you know he doesn't want to get you out with a fastball. And he had thrown you 2 fastballs in a row. Well, you know the next pitch has to be something off speed. He's not going to throw you 3 fastballs in a row. And Kepler does a great job of waiting on this splitter and just rips it off the wall down the left field line. And it wasn't a bad pitch. The pitch was down, but I think Kepler knew what he was going to throw. And I think everybody on the Dodgers and on both benches knew he was going to come with a splitter.
And that was the 80th pitch of the game thrown by Nomo. And the Dodgers bullpen is busy. There's Jim Colborn, the pitching coach, out to the mound. And in the bullpen, the veteran left-hander Wilson Alvarez has started to warm up now.
Now, Alvarez has been great as a starter till he hurt his hip. And now I think he's going to be in the bullpen, and Lima's going to be the 5th starter. But Alvarez has pitched great as a starter. And it's tough if you're Jim Tracy. You want to have patience with Nomo because you know that, this guy eats up innings. I mean, he had 220 innings last year, 219 the year before, 18. And they've lost Kevin Brown, who had 211 innings. You've got to get innings from some of these starters. As you mentioned, their starters are not giving them the innings. And you're going to wear this great bullpen that they have out before the season's over if you do not get more innings out of your starters.
If the Dodgers are ahead of you after 7, they don't lose.
Right.
That's how strong that bullpen's been. The infield is back for the Dodgers here. They are trailing 2-1. Pokey Reese takes a fastball too high. 1 ball and no strikes. Pokey struck out his first time.
And if you watch this game and you're the Red Sox, you have not seen Nomo throw 1 fastball down. So if you're looking fastball, you know it's going to be up.
And the splitter, that was down.
See, that's the difference. When you're a hitter and you're facing a guy like Nomo, okay, he's throwing the high fastball. So if I'm looking fastball, it's got to be up here. If I'm looking splitter, it's going to be down. Anything down is a splitter. I mean, it's pretty simple if you're a hitter and you're looking out there in the zone. If it's up, it's a fastball. If it's down, it's a splitter. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry.
1 ball, 1 strike. And the high fastball misses. 2-1. So you mean if it's down, don't swing.
If it's down, don't swing. Thank you. And if I'm sitting on a fastball and he gets it up, even if it's a little bit out of the strike zone, I can still handle it because he's not throwing that.
If it's down, it's a split.
If it's down, just let it go.
Fastball. Got that one right by him. It's 2-2 now. See, I finally got it, Joe.
You got it?
Yeah. That's why I only hit 270 when I was with East Bay Lumber.
All right, I'm going to give you another opportunity here. We got 2 balls and 2 strikes. What do you think he's going to throw?
It's going to be the splitter.
All right.
Or a high fastball.
Thank you.
If it's high, though, it's a fastball.
Well, I mean,
he's throwing him a splitter.
That's his pattern, though.
But if it's down, it's a splitter, and he shouldn't swing at it.
Exactly. But that's his pattern. I mean, that's what he's done.
It's going to be a splitter. Got to be. Fastball. Hit high in the air down the left field line. Into the corner. Roberts. And off the wall. Millar scores. Here comes Kepler right behind him. He scores. A 2-run double. Pokey Reese playing some wall ball at Fenway. 4-1 Boston.
Well, I'm glad he wasn't looking. The Red Sox are glad he wasn't looking what you were looking. He threw the high fastball, and he jumped on it, only it wasn't. I think that's going to be his last pitch, too.
Here's the call for Alvarez. So Nomo gets only 1 out here in the 4th inning. It is 4-1 Boston.
Pokey Reese taking advantage of Fenway Park. Just a high fly ball anywhere else. At Fenway, it's a 2-run double. It's great to be a Red Sox. We'll be back.
Try to get to your ultimate goal to go to the World Series, especially for the city of Boston. The fans are absolutely unbelievable. From the first pitch, the stands are filled, and they're there at the end of the last pitch, supporting their team. You do it for them, you do it for your teammates, you do it for yourself. Try to win a World Series. I live for this.
Catch Major League Baseball all season long on ESPN. Don't miss it.
We're at Fenway Park. Sunday night baseball. The Boston Red Sox have just gone ahead of the Dodgers. 4-1. 3 runs are scored here in the 4th inning. Kapler doubled home 1 off the wall. And then a high fly ball double hit by Pokey Reese for 2 more runs batted in. And there's the MetLife blimp. For over 16 years, they've been providing aerial television coverage of sporting and special events. Snoopy 1 is bringing you our aerial shots tonight from high above Fenway. And we are thrilled to have them with us. Ball 1 to Johnny Damon from Wilson Alvarez. You see Alvarez 2-2, 3.25 ERA. A lot of strikeouts, not many walks. 39 strikeouts, only 8 walks. He throws strikes. He's not anything at all like Nomo the way he pitches.
And he uses his fastball to set up his other pitches. He has good curveball and a change. Nice repertoire.
Johnny Damon has singled, stolen a base, and scored a run, and he is flied out to left. He's got Pokey Reese at second base with 1 out. Boston ahead 4-1. And Damon helped him out. Chased a bad one there. Fastball up out of the zone. I thought he shaved the beard.
I did too, but when I walked in the locker room today, I saw it and it was back. But, you know, I read a story about him. I asked him about it. His brother said when he was a kid, when he was being rebellious in junior high, he shaved half of his head, just one side, and left the other normal.
Johnny Damon?
Johnny Damon did, yeah.
At third base, Reese will have to hold. Adrian Beltre's got a great arm, slings it over to first for the out. Damon gone, 2 down.
And John, I asked him about it in the locker room. He said, yeah, that was during my rebellious years. I was trying something different. But I can't imagine having half your head shaved and the other half with full-grown hair.
Well, that was in his rebellious period.
Yeah, and then his father started paying him $20 every time you get a haircut.
You mean just to get one?
Just to get one.
You mean to get a normal one?
Normal haircut. He'd pay him $20.
Well, now a lot of people, he's raising money for charity when he shaves off the beard. That's what he did the first time. And apparently, he is growing the beard back, and he's going to shave it off again for charity.
Oh, okay.
And besides, what is wrong with having half of your head with hair and the other half without? I think that's a pretty good look. Bellhorn pops one up. Dave Roberts in left field, and the inning is over. So order restored there by Alvarez, but Hideo Nomo. It's been a puzzle. The stuff has just not been there. Pedro leading. Curveball for ball 1 to Olmedo Signs, the designated hitter for the Dodgers. That sounds weird, doesn't it? Saying designated hitter for the Dodgers. But the Dodgers are in the American League Park, and that's the way they play the interleague games. When you're in the American League Park, you play American League rules and vice versa.
Well, someone was that you suggested they do it the opposite, you know, because the National League fans do not get a chance to see the DH play the DH in their league, and the American League fans do not get to see the opposite, so when they're in the American League, play in National League.
Do you think that's a good idea?
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't bring that up. I would never.
Actually, I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea. I really don't, because you're putting the American League team at a disadvantage when they go to the National League parks because they lose a hitter.
But why put the American League team at a disadvantage in their home park?
Right. Well, because they're better off. They're a home team.
Well, I think they ought to just do it 1 year. The wind blowing that one back into play. That was headed for the seats, and the wind was an ill wind that blew no good for Olmedo Signs. It landed in the glove of Kevin Millar. Signs is 0 for 2. The wind is blowing out to left. That's the summer wind at Fenway Park.
But often that wind will shift come September. And all those home runs and high fly balls that scrape off the wall all summer long end up being outs come September. That's been the familiar lament for all these many years of the Red Sox and their fans. Because they, for the most part over the years, that built their ball club with sluggers.
Right.
To take advantage of that big wall, which looms so close over the shoulder of a pitcher. 0-2 now to Alex Cora. He flied out to center his first time. I think this is a huge inning for Pedro. He's gotten the lead now, and he needs to shut the Dodgers down here and do it quickly. I have spoken on this topic, and I think it's a bad idea, that Italy thing, too. And that's out number 2, so Cora is quickly retired. The last time the Dodgers played the Red Sox was in the 1916 World Series, and there's a plaque as part of that ballpark where they played that World Series. It was actually not here at Fenway. It was at Braves Field of Commonwealth Avenue away, and that's at Boston University. They changed the name to Nickerson Field, and the Red Sox actually played 2 World Series up there because it was bigger than Fenway Park. Can you imagine that, Joe? They wanted to make more money. Oh, so they played it up there. The seating capacity was 42,000 during the 1915 and 16 World Series. But the Dodgers actually in both 1914 and 15 played the Braves a few times here at Fenway because Braves Field was being constructed at that time. Dave Roberts pops it foul and back out of play. Beltre gives chase, but it's in amongst the spectators. 0-2 to Roberts.
And John, as you said, you can see a little difference in Pedro right now. You know, you can see he's kind of stepped it up a little bit. He's starting to take control of the ball game. He's throwing first pitch strikes, which is something that he only did in a couple of innings. He retired them in order in the second and the third inning, and he struggled in the first and the fourth. So he's getting ahead of the hitters now.
Roberts has a single, and he's also struck out. He's scored the Dodgers run. 2 down, nobody on. Into right center field, out toward the triangle. That is into the deepest part of the ballpark, to the 420 side, and Roberts is racing around the bases, heading for third, and he'll be held there as the ball is relayed into Pokey Reese.
And just as I say that, he gets 0-2 and makes a mistake right in the middle of the plate. This was supposed to be a fastball off the plate outside, but it's in the middle of the plate, and Dave Roberts does a good job of drilling it up the gap. See the target out there, see him reach back over the plate, right in the middle of the plate. And this is a shot from our left camera, right to the deepest corner. And I thought that, you know, Dave Roberts might have a chance for an inside park home run, but they played it perfectly out there in the outfield.
Here is Torres, who is 0-for-1 with a sacrifice bunt. Dave Roberts' 2 hits tonight have both come on 0-2 pitches.
Well, that one was a real mistake because, I mean, he could have wasted a pitch to try to get him to chase something out of the zone, and he ended up throwing it right in the middle of the plate.
Kevin Millar, Pedro covering, just got him. Millar did not make a very good feed that time. 1 man left. It is 4-1 Boston over L.A. Ortiz, Ramirez, Garcia Parra. The big power hitters coming up. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. We're at Fenway Park, Boston. Our 15th year of Sunday Night Baseball and Major League Baseball coverage on ESPN. The Red Sox are ahead 4-1 now as David Ortiz takes a called strike from Wilson Alvarez.
And John, one of the things I asked him about, you know, I said, you're built perfectly for this ballpark. And then he said he likes the ballpark, but it's interesting, he hits .315 against left-handed pitching here and .215 against left-handed pitching on the road.
And that one is right to Sean Green at first. And this time, Ortiz is out number 1. And that'll bring up Manny Ramirez. Ortiz now 1-for-3 in this game. He grounded into a double play in the first, singled in the third, and now a ground out the first here against Alvarez. Here's Manny Ramirez. Manny singled home a run in the first inning, but grounded into a double play to end the third. Both of those at-bats are against Nomo. You know, that we were talking about Dave Roberts at triple, and might it have been an inside the park home run? I think the reason that Roberts got held up at third base is because Pokey Reese was the guy who took the relay throw out there. Pokey, now that Nomar's back, Pokey has not been playing as much as he played before.
But he has a great arm. He was a shortstop originally. You know, when he first came up, at Cincinnati had Barry Larkin, so they moved him over to second base. And he's won Gold Gloves at second base. And he's just an excellent defensive player.
Usually the guy with the great arm plays shortstop, not second.
Yeah.
And will take the throw like that versus the second baseman.
Actually, that, you know, I was a shortstop myself, John, but they moved me over to second. You know, they figured that, you know, even though with that cannon I had, that it, you know, might be better off putting me at second base, you know.
So it was Concepcion and you who took the relay throw.
Well, I mean, I should say me, but I told him I would let David do it because I would get behind Davey and back him up.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't want, you know, I didn't want me to turn that gun loose too often.
So selfless.
Yeah,
always thinking of your teammates ahead of yourself. And that's a ball to Manny Ramirez. I mean, you could have had a lot more hits if you wouldn't have taken so many walks.
Yeah, true.
Just trying to set it up for the other guys to shine. Taking those walks.
I'd have made more outs, too.
2-1 the count to Manny Ramirez. You know, there was an incident here at Fenway on a play very much like what we're just talking about, where Roberts hit that triple. Barney Lansford tried for an inside the park home run. He hit one to the same spot, the 420 marker, against Detroit. Detroit had Lou Whitaker at second. Great arm. Took the throw, threw home. Lansford tried for the inside the park. Lance Parrish was the catcher, built like a rock. And Lansford crashed into him after a perfect throw from Whitaker and got hurt. Went on the disabled list for a month. It's a ball to Ramirez. So they put in a young guy named Wade Boggs at third base, and he played third for the next month and hit .420 and was in the lineup from then on, right up through 3,000 plus hits. But had it not been for Lou Whitaker and Lance Parrish, who knows when Boggs would have gotten that shot. 3-2 the count. Just a little bit low with that fastball. I'll tell you what, Manny had to have pretty good eye to take that pitch with 2 strikes.
Well, you mentioned that he had 39 walks before the game. Now he's 40, of course. But, I mean, he's a very patient hitter. I'm a little surprised at times at some of the pitches that he takes. I mean, right there, I mean, that pitch wasn't that bad of a pitch. He knew it was a 3-2 pitch. I mean, he had a fastball coming, and, I mean, the short wall in left field, I was just a little bit surprised that he took it.
Nomar. He has struck out and walked and scored a run. And that's too low with the changeup. Nomar drew a walk leading off the 4th inning against Nomo. Also stole second. And that was the start of the 3-run rally that put Boston ahead of this game. They lead 4-1. Starting back, Bradley. Now coming in. Gets there. Bradley, and I think a lot of guys would agree with him, his first impulse in the swing by Nomar was to start back.
Well, he hit it off the end of the bat. I think that's why it looked like he had a good swing at it, but he hit it off the end. And like you say, your first move is back.
I mean, that's pretty standard. Most guys would get in trouble if their first move was to go in.
Forward, yeah. And you can see, you know, Nomar's timing is a little off. It's going to take him a while to get, you know, his normal stroke back.
Here's Varitek. He has walked and struck out. And there's ball 1 from Wilson Alvarez.
And sometimes when you've been on the disabled list or, you know, you come back, you're so excited that your adrenaline carries you for the first few games. And then you settle in. And I think that's what's going to happen with Nomar. He's going to settle in after a few more ball games. Right now, every day, every pitch, everything is so exciting because you've sat around for so long anticipating playing this year. And eventually, when he's able to settle down and just go back to his normal routine, I think you'll see the normal Nomar back.
Varitek hitting right-handed. That's historically been his stronger side. Last year, he averaged 1 homer every 13.5 at-bats as a right-handed hitter and hit .309. But I remember here in Sunday Night Baseball last July, he hit a game-turning 3-run homer against the New York Yankees. And that's a ball. think he hit it against Chris Hammond, left-hander who the Yankees had at that time. So far this year, hitting .291 right-handed, but only 2 home runs as a right-handed batter. And 55 at bats, so the power has not been there yet right-handed this year. 3-2. He's averaging 1 home run every 22 at bats as a lefty, and every 27 and a half at bats as a righty so far this year. But that could turn around in a hurry with the warm summer months coming. 3-2 the count, 2 down, and a throw to first. Manny Ramirez back to the bat. Manny with 1 steal this year. Yankees won today. They began the day with a 3.5 game advantage over the Boston Red Sox, and they are hot. They've won 16 of 19. Manny runs, the ball is fouled back out of play. Meanwhile, the Los Angeles Dodgers in the National League West began the day just 1 percentage point ahead of San Diego. I mean, they were tied for first in the West. San Diego losing that game in New York. The Giants won their game in Baltimore. And at the moment, the Giants are just 1.5 games back of the Padres, 2 games back of LA, and rooting for the Red Sox tonight. As Manny runs, there's ball 4 to Varitek. The second walk of the inning allowed by Alvarez. We're in the last half of the 5th inning at Fenway Park. Sunday night baseball, the rubber match of this series at Fenway. The Dodgers at Fenway for the first time since 1915. The Yankees 40-21 overall, at the moment a 4-game lead over the Red Sox. Red Sox need a win to move it back to 3.5 out in the East. 100 games to go or thereabout. Kevin Millar takes a strike. Meanwhile, in the National League West, where nobody's playing particularly well, nobody's playing like the Yankees are playing in the American League East, that's for sure. The Dodgers have a half-game lead over the Padres, and the Giants just 1 game over 500. Are just 2 games back of LA. And look at Arizona. They looked like they were dead in the water 2 weeks ago. They got hot against the Giants and have been playing well lately. Randy Johnson won another game today. He's won 9 games now. Kevin Millar has flied out to shallow right, been hit by a pitch and scored a run. I mean, the Dodgers have been giving away a lot in this ball game. 5 walks and a hit batsman. Dodgers pitching. 6 free base runners in the first 5 innings. Long run for Bradley. Gets there. And the inning is over. 2 walks, 2 left. On to the 6th now. Bradley coming up. Then Green and Loduca. The Red Sox lead 4-1. The Boston Red Sox 4. The Los Angeles Dodgers 1 as we start the 6th inning at Fenway Park. And you get the walk down the aisle, down near the box seats here in the lower seating at Fenway Park. And Pedro Martinez snaps a curveball in there for a called strike to Milton Bradley, who has singled home a run, the only Dodgers run. That was the 1st inning. Then he walked in the 4th inning, but then got picked off. Curveball, although it all depends on who you ask about that pickoff. Bradley said he didn't get tagged. Bradley 269 for the year, 7 home runs. Trying to adjust to a new league after being a regular over the American League. 0-2 the count. This is the pickoff play we're talking about after he walked leading off the 4th inning.
And Bradley's contention was he didn't touch him, and John Shelby was the same way.
1-2 now to Bradley. Sean Green on deck, the cleanup hitter. Then Paul Loduca. Curveball bounced foul off to the right. 4 runs, 6 hits for Boston. 1 run, 5 hits for the Dodgers. Pedro, after he got that lead in the bottom of the 4th inning, came back for the 5th inning. He did give up a 2-out triple to Roberts, but no runs and threw only 12 pitches in that inning. Look out, he hit it. So yet another Dodger who had fallen behind in the count to Pedro reaches base against Pedro. Bradley's been on 3 straight times.
Well, I think Pedro is trying to waste a pitch inside and go away with the changeup. But he got us obviously off the plate inside, and the target's inside, but he gets it up and in, and Bradley cannot get out of the way.
Yeah, there was a time in Pedro's career when he was much younger pitching in Montreal that any time he hit a guy, there was going to be a battle because he had the reputation. Guys thought that he was a headhunter. And I remember Felipe Alou was his manager in those days. Sean Green, who hits a lot of double play balls, may have hit one here. No, he beat it out. Wilkie Reese to Nomar, but Sean still runs pretty well, and they just could not get the double play.
Well, it was a big hop, first of all, and they turned it about as well as you could, but you have to remember Sean Green also runs well. That was not a perfectly hit ground ball for the double play.
Meanwhile, Sam Ryan is standing by with the general manager of the Red Sox, Theo Epstein. Let's go to Sam.
Well, that's right, John. Theo joining me right now. Theo, you come into this game 4 games behind the Yankee. Played the entire season up until this week without Nomar Garciaparra. Now you get Nomar back. What does he bring to the team?
Well, Nomar brings a lot to the table. He's a great offensive player at a premium position, very good defender, a great base runner, and brings a lot of energy to the park every day, too.
And you got some free agents coming up. Nomar, one of them. You took care of David Ortiz already. What's next on your priority list?
Well, we took care of Trot this spring and David Ortiz during the year. And, you know, we're talking to the guys who want to talk. A lot of the guys just want to wait till after the season, so it's not a distraction. So we're going to respect that and pick it up with those guys right at the end of the year.
Pedro, one of the guys saying that he wanted to wait until after the season. Now, we have some injuries that we were talking about. Nomar, one of them coming back. You talked about Trot Nixon taking care of him. What's the latest on his condition?
Trot's actually going to join us on the flight to Colorado. He played in Pawtucket today, and it was the healthiest he'd been all year. He's going to get on the flight with us, and we're probably going to activate him sometime during that series in Colorado. So it's great to have him back. Bill Miller's only a couple weeks away, so we're starting to get our guys back.
Good news for Sox fans. Also, the next 6 weeks busy for you guys with the general managers as the trading deadline approaching. If you were to compile a wish list right now, what would top your wish list?
Well, we're in a little bit of a unique position because we haven't seen our team on the field together the way a lot of other clubs have had because of all the injuries. So we're going to wait and see how we look once we're at full strength and then address our needs from there. But probably, you know, pitching depth is something everyone needs, and we're included in that too.
Theo Epstein, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Theo Epstein, the young general manager of the Red Sox out of Yale University, grew up here, grew up in Brookline, just up the street. That is right to Pokey, back to first, double play. So they couldn't double up Green on the ground ball, and they double him up on the line drive instead. Loduca hits into a pair. Now to the last of the 6th. Kepler coming up, 4-1 Boston. Red Sox 4, Dodgers 1. Here come the Red Sox. Last of the 6th inning. Wilson Alvarez in relief of Hideo Nomo. Throws ball 1 to Gabe Kepler. Kepler got the double in the 4th inning. A liner down the left field line off the wall that drove in the go-ahead run for Boston in that 3-run 4th inning rally. And a cutter inside for a ball 2-0. Then Pokey Reese just hit one of those quintessential summertime high fly balls to left and scraped off the wall for a 2-run double. Although, and I keep bringing that up, but Joe, you made the point. You really question the pitch selection of Hideo Nomo in that instance.
Well, I just think that his fastball is not good enough to get a lot of hitters out. I mean, I think his splitter would have been a better choice there. John, let's show you. I want to show you why Pokey Reese is such a good defensive player. That last line drive. Now watch what he does here. Sean Green's right between him and the runner, him and first base, so he lobs it over his head. Now watch this. He doesn't throw a line drive. He kind of lobs it over, so Millar will have time to catch it, and he won't hit Sean Green going back. A lot of guys just grab it and they fire it to first base and hit the runner in the back. That's why he's such a good defensive player. He knows how to handle every situation.
It's ball 1 to Pokey.
And he's also turned into a pretty good hitter. And a good RBI man. He's got 24 RBI.
Hitting 266 for the year now. I mean, if he could hit that, he would play every day. somewhere for somebody.
Yeah, because he brings great defense, he brings some speed, and he's a smart player. He knows how to play the game.
Ball on the strike to Pokey Reese. Pokey fouls one back to the screen. Now, Joe, we're talking about Pokey, and he figured out a way to get that play done without hitting the runner.
Right.
Something that he just decided on the spur of the moment. It worked beautifully. But Sean Green should not have been in a position to get picked off like that, right?
Well, when you're down 4-1, I mean, it's just you stay out of the double play. I mean, that's what the first baseman tells you when you get on first. They watch the line drive. The first base coach tells you immediately, watch the line drive. I mean, that's just, again, that's baseball 101. They tell you, watch the line drive. That's what the first base coach is there for. Tell you how many outs there are, and also to tell you, what to watch for.
Milton Bradley got thrown out after singling home a run in the first inning, and he sort of was sacrificing himself, but needlessly. Pokey Reese strikes out against Alvarez for out number 2. Bradley then got picked off after leading off the 4th inning with a walk. So it's been adventures, or better said, misadventures in base running for the Dodgers tonight. Now, that is the view from the hand-operated scoreboard out there at Fenway Park.
Right, but I bet it's from right in there.
No.
No? That looks
right,
like,
yes.
Yeah, there it is. See, there's the camera right there. They were trying to hide it, but it's right inside the ball.
And you see those big light bulbs there? Those tell you the ball's in strike count. Ball 1.
I hate to tell you this, but I've been looking up on the scoreboard all night for the balls and strikes. Because I know, but I'm so used to looking, on the big scoreboard.
Just look for the light bulbs out there.
There it is right there.
1 ball, 1 strike, 2 out. What else do you need to know? 18's at the plate. Did you get your scorecard before the game?
Well, let's see, it's on the scoreboard up there.
Can't tell the players without their numbers.
Yeah, I'm looking
at your scorecard.
I'm looking up there because I can see the pictures, too, and I check Johnny Damon's growth.
Well, how contemporary of you. See, now, Joe, I don't need those kind of modern amenities to enjoy a ball game. I just check the out-of-town, the hand-operated out-of-town scoreboard, where the things are the same as they were going back to the days of Lefty Grove, when he was out on the mound in Fenway in 1936. Jimmy Fox, double X, was hitting the ball with a big wall and left. That's ball 4 to Johnny Damon.
John, while we have a moment here, I read something in the paper today I thought was interesting. The Boston Red Sox, for their honorary bat boy and bat girl tonight, they had Kelly and Danny Lincoln. Their mom, Laura, just returned from military duty in Iraq, and the Boston Red Sox made them the honorary bat boys and girls for today's game. I thought it was very interesting.
Yeah.
So mom just got home and
fun night with mom at the ballpark.
Yeah. It's got to be a lot more fun for mom, even if they weren't at the ballpark, just to be home.
That's for sure. Here's Bellhorn. He fouls one back out of play. You saw that hand-operated scoreboard out there. There was a day in 1981. The Orioles were playing here, a day game in April. And the electricity in this whole part of the city went out. So it's Fenway Park. The sun was out. They had a hand-operated scoreboard. They played the whole game. It didn't matter. Sherfella was the public address announcer. He got one of those battery-operated, bullhorns. And he leaned out of his booth on the rooftop of Fenway and says, "We have no electricity, ladies and gentlemen, but we're going to sing the national anthem anyway. Let's hear you." And the fans stood up, sang the national anthem, and then the hand-operated scoreboard took care of everything else. And the Red Sox and Orioles played. You would have had a hard time playing anywhere else in a day game, except, I guess, Wrigley Field would have been the other place you could have done it with no electricity. This, by the way, is tonight marks the 7,246th Major League game at Fenway Park. More games have been played here than at any other ballpark in Major League history. He's Torres going out. Wow, what a play. Cesar's Torres with as fine a play as you'll see. He just outran that one.
What about Omar Vizquel?
He's lost a half a step. Torres has just got a little curveball for strike one to Adrian Beltre, leading off for the Dodgers in the 7th inning against Pedro Martinez. That was pitch number 96 for Pedro. He threw 72 pitches the first 4 innings, but had a 12-pitch 5th and an 11-pitch 6th inning. So here he is into the 7th, and after 4 innings, you might not have given much for his chances of getting this far, because once he's up and around 100, the Red Sox do not like to stay with him much longer. Beltre 0 for 2. Oh, man. There's that big curveball again. And again, Beltre was heading out of there.
Well, one of the problems with Beltre kind of leans in, and that ball starts right at him. And if you don't recognize the spin, you've got to bail out of there.
It's that curveball to third. And Bellhorn throws him out. Beltre is 0 for 3 against Pedro tonight. The MetLife Blimp Snoopy 1 has teamed up with ESPN to provide you with these spectacular views from high above Fenway Park since 1987. The MetLife Blimps Snoopy 1 and Snoopy 2 have flown over 1 million miles to provide aerial coverage of sporting events and television specials throughout the United States. More than 1 million miles. And so it's a little bit of a windy night, too. Snoopy's bouncing around up there. Now from the blimp, watch this play by Izturis.
And John, look how far out he goes to make that catch. I mean, in short center field.
That one is through, base hit for Encarnacion. His first hit, and the 6th hit of the game for L.A. against Pedro. Pedro now at 101 pitches for the game as Alan Embry, a left-hander, is warming up in the Boston bullpen. Hitters in the last 5 seasons hitting 197 as a group against Pedro for his first 100 pitches. And after that, 226, which is still not very good, but it's better. Now already his 101st pitch was hit for a single tonight. So they're hitting 1,000 tonight so far after his 100 pitches. Olmedo signs is line to left, foul to first. And of course, here in Boston, it's still a sore subject. When Pedro was left in there in the 8th inning at Yankee Stadium of Game 7 of the League Championship Series, after he'd gone well past 100 pitches, and only was taken out of the game after it had been tied up. It's an old story at this point, but still fresh in the minds, I think, of plenty of Red Sox fans here in New England. The ball and a strike to Signs. Alex Cora is on deck. Dodgers have had a lot of base runners against Pedro.
You know, I was noticing something else about Pedro. You know who his hero was growing up? I'll give you a hint. He threw a changeup, had a great fastball. He pitched for the Reds.
Mario Soto.
Yeah, he pitched exactly like Pedro. Great fastball, great changeup. He didn't have the curveball that Pedro had, but he was Pedro's hero growing up. Pedro wanted to be just like him, and he pitches just like him.
That fastball is popped foul back onto the rooftop. 1-2.
Let's take a look at Pedro. We talked about how long could he hold his stuff tonight. Well, we mentioned he started off slow. He got a little higher, and the 2 innings, the 2nd and the 3rd innings were his best innings. He threw 91 and 92, 88 and 92. So those were his get-him-out speed. And he got a little faster in the 4th inning, but the 4th inning they had runners on, and I think he reached back a couple of times to get a little extra. But when he was comfortable throwing, I believe that 92 was his high, and 90 was around, average for him.
Pedro trying to give the Red Sox this series over the Dodgers. Boston won 2-1 in the Friday night ball game. It's sort of more of a typical Dodger game these last couple of years. Fastball, and that blows away Olmedo Signs. That was the exploding fastball.
John, what he did there, he kind of hesitated a little bit to gather himself on the mound before he threw that pitch. A little of a hesitation there while he gathered his momentum, and then he let everything go on that one pitch. Watch him hesitate right there. You see a little hesitation, and then he lets everything go on that one pitch. And it had some giddy up on it upstairs.
Now Alex Cora, 2 down. Encarnacion at first. Cora 0 for 2. chop. First base side just goes foul.
And then right after throwing one of his best fastballs, he comes back with a straight changeup.
So Pedro gave up that 1 run in the first inning. The Dodgers have had their chances against him, but he's not been able to, or the Dodgers have not been able to break through against him. But since that first inning,
I think you have to give him the credit we were talking about when they make errors behind him. You know, he picks them up to teammates. Right here, when they got it, whenever he got in trouble, he knew what he wanted to do, and he was able to bail himself out of trouble. I think the way you gauge a pitcher is how he keeps the damage to a minimum. If you and I could pitch and we walk out there and no one ever got on base. But good pitchers are able to pitch themselves out of tough situations. And that's obviously what Pedro is, one of the best pitchers in the game.
Now Mike Timlin, the right-hander, has joined Alan Embry in the Boston bullpen. Pedro at 109 pitches for the game. No balls, 2 strikes with 2 down, and the big crowd at Fenway rises to its feet in support of Pedro. Curveball, and good work there by Cora to fight that one off. That was a sharp, big breaker.
Well, that was a perfect curveball, John, in that it starts in the strike zone, but by the time it got to, watch where it starts. Now watch, it's going to break right down. Actually got the bottom of the strike zone. But that's a great pitch. There's nothing that he could do with that other than hit a little ground ball someplace.
Still 0-2 to Cora. To shortstop. Nice! Well, I spoke too quickly. He got the glove on it, but he did not hold it. And everybody's safe. Tough hop. It would have been a real nice play had he actually been able to make the play.
Well, I think one thing you have to remember is he did not have any spring training, missed a lot of spring training. And also, I mean, he's like in spring training now because he's missed so many games. He missed 57 games. I think normally Nomo would knock this ball down, if not catch it. See, just knock it down, pick it up, and throw to second base. But I think his timing is off a little bit, and you can see it hits the heel of his glove. I mean, the guy has not been playing Major League Baseball for a while. And it's not easy to play Major League Baseball. Everything's a little faster, and you have to react a little quicker.
Dave Wallace, the pitching coach, out to talk to Pedro, who's at 111 pitches. With 2 men on and 2 men out, and the leadoff man, Dave Roberts, coming up. Roberts, who's had a single and a triple against Pedro tonight. Pedro will get, I'm assuming he'll get an extra day before his next start. The Red Sox, after tonight's ball game, have tomorrow off before they head out west. And they go to Coors Field in Denver for 3, and then to SBC Park in San Francisco for 3. Pedro will be scheduled to pitch against Barry Bonds and the Giants next week in San Francisco. Pedro, who threw 115 pitches last Tuesday against the Padres in an 8-inning 2-hit shutout effort. Here is Roberts, and that's a strike.
I think the hitters that bother Pedro the most are guys like Roberts, who are just putting the ball in play. They're not taking a big swing, so you throw them a changeup, sometimes you're doing them a favor. But they're not over swinging, and they will not chase a lot of pitches out of the zone.
By the way, Cora got credit for an infield single. His ball to Nomo. That one is caught by Porky Reese. I don't think Shaq could have gotten any higher for that one. Wow. An acrobatic play by Porky Reese. Looked like he was auditioning for the Cirque du Soleil. Still 4-1 Boston. Talk about the scoreboard. Oh. Red Sox 4, Dodgers 1. We go to the last half of the 7th inning from Fenway Park. And here at Fenway, this great house of sluggers, we've seen some excellent pitching and some strong defense. And Porky Reese has put on a show tonight. There's no question about it. And what a play he just made on that line drive by Dave Roberts. Now, that was a run. Probably would have knocked Pedro out of this game, although I think he's going to be out now anyway. But right. He would have been gone in the middle of that inning, and the Dodgers would have had something going with Cesar Izturis coming up.
Well, the ball might have gotten in the gap, and they may have scored 2 runs, not just 1.
You see right there, if you had the high def, you would have seen Pokey on that shot on a part of the screen not visible on a normal television screen. We've got our plasma, high-definition television here in the booth that Joe brings along every Sunday. And Dave Roberts was just stunned. It ain't right.
Well, that was a real hard line drive. But again, I said, guys like that give Pedro more problems. Guys that are just putting the ball in play and not swinging too hard. And he's had success tonight. You know, just putting the ball in play, trying to hit a line drive. Pedro's change-ups and his off-speed pitches work better against guys who are taking big swings. And there's Pokey Reese. And the fans see it again on the big screen in center field. They were yelling Pokey, Pokey in between innings.
Pokey is still excited about it. Roberts still can't believe it. You hear the fans are chanting Pokey.
And that's got to be exciting for a guy like Pokey Reese, you know, and that's one of the things that they tell you about playing baseball here in Boston and even on the East Coast. I mean, fans get excited.
You remember Fred Patek, of course. He was playing for the Angels, not even playing for the Red Sox, and they were blowing out the Red Sox one night, but he had 3 home runs in the game. Fred Patek, well, he was like 5 foot 5 inches tall. As Ortiz, that is a foul ball. Just barely foul. And it is 0-1 as Ortiz leads off here for Boston. When he came up in the 9th inning with a chance for his 4th, the fans started chanting at Fenway. For the out-of-town play, they started chanting, Freddie, Freddie. And it was really the thrill of a lifetime for Fred Patek. The fans will appreciate great play even from an out-of-town player. But Pokey Reese tonight, Fenway hit the high fly ball, probably just in a routine out at Dodger Stadium or most ballparks. Here at Fenway, the wind blowing out, off the wall, 2-run double. But Pokey hasn't needed any help with the other part of his game tonight. And Dave Roberts, he wasn't just stunned, he was outraged.
Well, I think the ball was taking off. It was a line drive, and I think he felt like it was starting to rise a little bit. And like I said, it might have found the gap in right center. He's already hit 1 in that gap, and he may have been able, you know, to put the Dodgers back in this ball game.
Might have even been more than just
2 runs. It would have been a 2-run double.
You see how they're playing the Dodger infield here for Ortiz to pull the ball. He slices that one foul off to the left and onto the rooftop.
It's interesting. They have, as we see the bullpen, Sanchez is warming up for the Dodgers, but it's an interesting defense that they're playing on the right side for David Ortiz. They're playing him pretty much straight away on the left side, but look at all this area right in here. That's unusual that you play a guy that tells you that he pulls a lot of balls on the ground. And over here, you see they're playing him pretty much straight away on the left side.
Usually they're planning to pull that much. The shortstop will be over behind second.
Right. But they're given, that means that he only pulls the ball in the hole. He doesn't pull it and hit it up the middle.
And it hits that perfectly. Right to the shortstop. Ortiz is now 1 for 4 in the game. 1 down. Here's a look at who's gaining power, brought to you by Gillette M3 Power. The up-to-date American League home run leaders, Manny Ramirez, is number 1 as he comes to the plate here, 17. The big hurt, Frank Thomas, has 16, and Vladimir Guerrero with 15 home runs. And as Manny Ramirez is coming up here, the right-handed slugger, Jim Tracy is removing the left-hander for the right-hander. Sanchez coming in. Here is Duaner Sanchez throwing ball 1 to Manny Ramirez. Manny has singled home a run, grounded into a double play, and walked. Duaner Sanchez picked off the waiver wire by the former Dodger general manager, Dan Evans. That ball deep into right field, but that's the wrong place to hit it at Fenway. Well, 380 feet to straightaway right here.
And especially today, the wind's blowing toward left, and it probably knocked that one down a little bit. And you mentioned that, you know, Dan Evans, you know, this is pretty much still Dan Evans' team. He's the one that put this mostly together, even though before he was fired. And now, you know, they added Milton Bradley, maybe a couple other people since he's been gone, but he really kind of put this team together before the new owners took over.
And the slider swung on a miss by Nomar, who has struck out, walked, and scored a run and flied out to shallow center field. A high pop-up. Beltre. Don't try that at home. He's Torres, Bradley, Sean Green. The big hitters coming up for L.A. And the Dodgers Interleague Series here at Fenway Park. The rubber match. Dodgers won yesterday. The Red Sox won Friday. And Boston is leading 4-1. They built up that lead back of Pedro Martinez. And Pedro, after 113 pitches, has been removed now. And here is Mike Timlin, the veteran right-hander. Tough to hit, Joe. 32 in the third innings, only 24 hits allowed. Also into the ball game with Timlin is Dave McCarty, veteran, well-traveled. Yesterday he pitched the 9th inning and allowed no runs. Today he's the defensive replacement at first base, replacing Kevin Millar. The Dodgers, Cesar Izturis will try and get them started, and Milton Bradley and Sean Green, the numbers 2, 3, and 4 spots in the batting order. And this ball 1 too high to Izturis, who is 0 for 2 with a sacrifice bunt. Pedro Martinez, 113 pitches, 7 innings, 1 run, 7 hits allowed, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. That is a called strike. How about this, though, Joe? 5 of the 7 hits were hit by guys who had 0-2 counts. He had another guy with an 0-2 count that he hit. In the bullpen, Folk, the right-hander, Embry, the left-hander. That's a broken back. Oh, too simple for Folky. Shouting Pokey anyway.
Well, I mean, he could turn into a folk hero here in the New England area.
I don't think we showed the leaping catch that he made on Roberts' liner enough. I haven't really gotten my fill of it yet.
He was up there, too.
I mean, he defied gravity. I don't think those NBA guys could do what he did.
A lot of hang time.
I mean, he leaped up and then he stayed there for like 5 seconds. And then he caught it. Milton Bradley. And that's ball 1. Bradley. Pedro never retired him. Here's that play again, Joe.
Look at that. I mean, right at the height of his jump, too.
David McCarty. Look out. He falls over. But he got him. If you're not familiar with David McCarty, that's not normally the way that he makes that play. No, he usually stays on his feet and makes that play.
Millar says, well, I think I could have done that.
A much better crawler than Millar. All right, Terry Francona with the left-handed batting. Green coming up is going to bring in the left-handed pitching Alan Embry from the bullpen. 2 down in the 8th, 4-1 Boston. Fenway Park in Boston's Back Bay. Red Sox 4, Dodgers 1. Top of the 8th inning. 2 down, nobody on. And there's the look from the left field foul pole high atop the big wall and left. Here is Embry against Sean Green. Green is 2 for 3, but he has never had a hit against Alan Embry. 0 for 9 lifetime. So I guess that kind of a record was just irresistible to Terry Francona. Dodgers need to put a couple of men on base to send the possible tying run of the game to the plate. Green and Embry. Oh, man. Powerful fastball right by him. 1 ball, 1 strike. How about this? There's a rumor going around that the Dodgers might try to trade for Carlos Delgado, Green's former teammate and very close friend. They reportedly talk to each other on the phone at least once every week to see if that might make Green more comfortable in L.A. and maybe bring out the best in him.
Well, he was a guy, Delgado was a guy that Green confided in when he was in Toronto. When things weren't going well, he said Delgado was always the guy to sit there and say, hey, man, things are all right, just do a little this, whatever. And as you said, they were close friends. And he was a guy that made it easy for Green to exist there. I mean, he took some of the pressure off by being the guy in the middle of that lineup.
The Dodgers need another hitter anyway.
They need 2 more. but one is a good start.
But if they got Delgado, maybe they'd get 2 more.
Okay.
Maybe Green would come back. Green called out on strikes and uncharacteristically complaining to the umpire. Embry gets it done. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. Duaner Sanchez facing Jason Varitek. Red Sox batting, last of the 8th, leading 4-1. Be sure and log on to MLB.com and make your voice heard. Vote for the starting lineups for the 2004 All-Star Game. Remember, the team that wins the All-Star Game will establish home field advantage for its league in the World Series again this year. So log on right now to MLB.com to cast your AmeriQuest All-Star ballot.
John, I'm going to bring up a point here about, the Dodgers. And, their best pitcher is Gagne. And
Varitek down the right field line, but there is Encarnacion. And that's one away.
And he has this fantastic streak going of 76 consecutive saves. And the point is, he's only had 3 opportunities in the last 29 games. Looks like it'd be 30 today, to save games. So you're not being used that often.
By the way, there's the view of one of the suites up there in the rooftop, Joe. And they're watching television in there. I couldn't quite make it out what they were watching, though.
Looked like Shaq and the guys. There's Larry Brown, and it's a tie ball game.
I recognize Larry Brown.
But, John, my point is you're not going to use Gagne right now, but if he ever blows a save, I think you may have to start thinking to use him differently. Bringing him in the 7th or 8th inning with a tie game. To give him a chance to help you win some ball games. Because at this point, like I say, he's had 3 chances in the last. This will be the 30th game. So that means there's 27 times that he could not help you win games.
Well, plus he's had long periods of time where he hasn't pitched at all.
Exactly. So the point is, I think you have to start thinking about using him differently if you're the Dodgers. You can't do it right now because of this great streak. But if he ever does blow a save, then I think you have to start thinking about how can I get this guy in the game more often to help us win, because he's our best pitcher.
McCarty down on strikes in his first at bat of the game. 2 down. Here's an update now from Trey Wingo.
John and Joe, thanks. Barry Bonds just being Barry Bonds off Sidney Ponson. His 500th career homer as a Giant, 676 for his career. And oh, by the way, he's now tied for the Major League lead with 18. Giants win at 7-3. John and Joe, back to you.
I was in Baltimore yesterday when Barry took batting practice at Camden Yards. And, man, he put on a show.
Did he hit the building?
I thought he did.
Okay.
But they said he didn't. Well, I never saw a video that showed conclusively.
Oh.
But the fans out there were acting as though he did. Gabe Kapler and Duaner Sanchez has retired 5 in a row since he came in. Now the 9th inning. Last chance for L.A. Loduca, Beltre, Encarnacion, Keith Folk, the Boston closer, coming in. Sunday Night Baseball from Boston. And the Red Sox lead the Dodgers 4-1 in the rubber match of the series. Pedro Martinez, 7 innings, 1 run allowed. It's his game to win as we head to the 9th. Right after the game, stay tuned for Sports Center with Reese Davis and John Anderson. Top stories tonight. The NBA Finals are the Lakers on the brink. Major League Baseball, the interleague excitement. They'll explore that. And the NFL, the new Corey Dillon. That's on SportsCenter. All those stories and much, much more on SportsCenter right after the game. I was in Baltimore over the weekend, and they were thrilled to see Barry Bonds in Baltimore. And it was like the Orioles aggravated their own fans last night, second game of a doubleheader, because they kept walking Barry Bonds intentionally. The fans kept booing the Orioles.
He walked 5 times, right?
5 times he walked in that game. We saw pictures of fans in the stands shouting at the Orioles, wearing Orioles hats, saying, 1 time, just 1 time. Is that too much to ask?
Well, 1 time would probably have been 1 time too many as far as the Orioles team was concerned.
Now, maybe Barry had 30,000 friends and relatives wearing Orioles jerseys and whatnot there last night. But it paid off, I guess, because the Orioles won the game. Barry hit a home run there today. He hit 2 home runs over the weekend at Camden Yards. First time he'd ever played a regular season game there. As Loduca fouls one away against Keith Folk, the Red Sox closer. He's the guy they didn't have last year here in Boston. But Folk has had 12 saves. He has a 1.11 ERA. And Folk has pitched 7 more innings than has Eric Gagne, the great closer of the Dodgers. You know, you made a good point, Joe, but maybe they need to use him a different way. Jim Tracy told me, the LA manager, before the game tonight, he said that, you know, Gagne, the other day, he used him in Toronto for the first time in 9 days. I said, I mean, for a save the first time? He says, no, for the first time in any way in 9 days. And there was not a save situation.
Well, what they do is, you know, they have to get some work eventually. But, I mean, I think instead of waiting for a save, maybe you're going to have to start using him in the 8th inning in a tie ball game. Give yourself a chance to win that game on the road, you know, when you're on the road.
Well, he's done that.
I've never seen any closer or anyone else dominate hitters like he does. I mean, hitters are defensive from the first pitch with him, and that's why I say, you know, he can do a lot of things for your ball club. But, again, right now, with him having a 76-game, you know, streak, I don't think you can do it. I mean, I think
you might end the streak.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, but if you bring him in a tie game,
yeah, but I'm thinking of bringing him in the 8th inning or something sometimes.
But you mean for a save?
Yeah, for a save, or for a tie ball game. You're right. In a tie ball game, he would only get, you know,
he's going for the win.
Yeah.
Well, Duke almost got hit by that pitch.
But I just think, you know, if you're, you know, that. If I'm the manager of that team, I've got to find a way to use this guy more. But again, not at this point because of the save streak. I just don't think it's fair to him.
Well, I think it's fair.
Yeah. Well, maybe you're right, but it's just hard to do that.
Pokey Reese, one away. You know, I think there's a Pokey's got a cult following of fans now. They love Pokey. One down. Here's Adrian Beltre. Sports Center comes up right after the ball game. They'll have all the highlights of this one. Pedro Martinez trying to get it done with the Red Sox in the rubber match of the series and to keep pace with the Yankees who won earlier. 7 strong innings for Pedro, and Pokey Reese turned in a virtuoso defensive performance. Plus he got a big hit. 2-run double off the wall and left. The quintessential high Fenway fly that scraped off the wall and knocked in 2. And knock out Nomo, the Dodgers starter. There have been no runs scored since then, but Pokey made a couple of brilliant defensive plays since then. Beltre 0 for 3. 1 out, nobody on, facing Folk. And that's out of play. Dave Wallace, the pitching coach for Boston, says that for Folk, really the fastball is his changeup. Right. He's got such a great changeup. Excellent breaking ball. When he throws that fastball, he's not like Gagne. He doesn't throw 98 miles an hour, but when he does throw it, the hitters are totally thrown off. 1 and 2. But I like what you said, because, you know, like Raleigh Fingers and those great closers, it was fairly routine for them to go the final 2 innings, and often they'd go the final 3 innings. I remember here in Boston when Ralph Houk was the manager. 1982, they had a closer named Mark Clear. Yeah. He won 14 games and threw 144 innings. And he was the closer. Yeah. He once ended a game with a curveball to John Lowenstein, a left-handed hitter, who took it for strike 3, and they asked Lowenstein after the game, what were you thinking when they took that curveball? He says, I was thinking it was a pitch out. Here's a pop-up, shallow left, Nomar, and that's all for Beltre. 2 down. Two down in the 9th, nobody on. The Dodgers, with a loss here, would remain in a virtual tie with San Diego atop the National League West, but they'd lose it down to the Giants. The Giants would finish a 14-game road trip, their longest road trip in 15 years, and they would be only 1.5 games back of both the Dodgers and the Padres. And the Giants at one point were 8 games back of L.A. So here is Encarnacion. He is 1 for 3. Ball 1, and the fans here at Fenway, 35,068, standing room only, the 97th consecutive sellout at Fenway Park. They're on their feet now, hoping to inspire Folk to wrap it up. Fastball away, 2-0.
Yeah, and John, one quick point about Gagne's streak. You know, you have to also be great as he is, but you have to have some luck too. Remember the other night, Folk was in to get a save, got hit a fly ball in left field, a pop-up. they make an error behind him. He doesn't get the save. It's a blown save.
Manny failed to catch the ball.
So then it becomes a blown save. But
it wasn't his fault, but it wasn't
his fault.
He didn't hold the lead.
Yeah, so you have to, there's a certain amount of luck that goes along with it, that players do not make mistakes behind you. But he dominates the hitter so much that I think he can afford mistakes, and they still wouldn't give up you wouldn't have a blown save.
That's happened. 3-1 the count to Encarnacion. But, you know, Felipe Alou said that Gagne has such great stuff with so many pitches.
Right.
He says, you know, with that kind of stuff, if he could sustain that as Encarnacion gets the walk with 2 down, if he could sustain it for more than 1 or 2 innings, and we know he's been a starter in the past, he says this guy would win 20 games with that kind of stuff as a starting pitcher.
And, well, there goes the question right there, though. Is 20 games more important than the saves?
Well, I checked you out on ESPN.com.
Oh, okay.
I saw you talking about that very issue.
I think that 20 wins is more important than the saves, personally.
You throw 250 innings.
Yeah. And win 20 games.
This is a closer who throws 70 innings or 75.
Yeah.
Now Raleigh Fingers and Bruce Sutter
and Mike Marshall.
Mike Marshall went through 208 innings as a closer.
He was completely different.
He was the setup man and the closer all in one. He was the right-handed and left-handed setup man and the closer. 0-2 the count to Olmedo Saenz, the designated hitter for the Dodgers in the American League ballpark. 2 down, 9th inning, runner at first. 4-1 the Red Sox lead. Almost hit him.
Hey, lucky it was a changeup, or he would have hit him.
Pokey Reese tonight. We mentioned the 2 RBIs he had in the 4th inning and the great play he made to Rob Roberts at an RBI hit. He also had 3 infield assists and 4 unassisted putouts. 1-2. And another changeup. That's low.
And no matter who you are, we just saw Terry Francona. You have to be worried because of the short porch in left field. Folk's best pitch is a changeup. And if Saenz hits a high fly ball, it could go out of here. So the walk to Encarnacion is really just something you just don't do if you're Folk.
He's got Robin Ventura on deck, and that's a base hit up the middle. So he was not able to put away Olmedo Saenz. And now Robin Ventura, the veteran, a left-handed hitter with power, comes up as the pinch hitter, and he is the possible tying run of the game. Although Ventura, as a left-handed hitter, to really want to take advantage of Fenway on this night with the wind blowing out the left, is going to have to hit one the other way.
Or right down the line and right, where it's very short.
Two out. Here's Ventura. Just missing with a fastball. Folk trying to save the win for Pedro Martinez. Changeup. That's a strike at the knees.
And John, this brings the point to life we're talking about. When you see other great closers struggle, to close a game, and Gagne just goes out there and gets it done, it shows you the difference.
Yeah.
And how great his stuff is compared to other closers.
Ventura fouls one out of play. Now the Dodgers down to their final strike again. Gagne, even though he hasn't pitched that much lately, came in yesterday in a blowout to get some work in, and he struck out the side. Ventura, the possible tying run. The changeup down and away. 2-2. It goes on. Ventura has not hit a home run this year. He's only had 58 at-bats. He's been a pretty good pinch hitter, hitting over 300 as a pinch hitter. Folk has thrown 26 pitches in this inning. Changeup, and that ends it. So Folk gets the save. Pedro Martinez gets his 7th win of the year.
and the Red Sox keep pace with the Yankees and take this interleague series from the Los Angeles Dodgers. Final score 4-1. Boston over L.A. Now stay tuned. SportsCenter's coming up next. We'll be in L.A. next Sunday, by the way, 8 Eastern. The Yankees and the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium. For Joe Morgan, Sam Ryan, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm John Miller. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the telecast.